Welcome to the Honest Hour. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and just want to give you guys an update. Things are going to be changing here quite a bit. Mick is going to be the one doing live streams moving forward throughout the week, Mondays and Fridays, and then I will be occasionally joining, but primarily focusing on Ohio news, MOT Ohio, MOT_Ohio. So if you're in Ohio and you're interested in staying up to date in Ohio politics and news, be sure to subscribe to that page. That is where I'll be focusing more of my time moving forward. But today, the topics for discussion are going to be why shouldn't we cancel student debt, Trump derangement syndrome on the right, maybe worse than on the left, Andrew Tate should be canceled. So we got a comment here. It says not canceling student debt will pop the loan bubble the banks created and crash the economy. How? Oh, not canceling. Okay. So you're saying not canceling it will pop the loan bubble? How will it pop the loan bubble? I'm of the mindset that we should cancel student loan debt. I'm for jubilees. I think that all debt should be wiped out every 7 years, as the Bible states. But I'm curious about people's take as to why we shouldn't cancel the student loan debt. And I want to hear good arguments, because I have a feeling that I'm just going to hear a bunch of, I don't want to pay the debt back. You took out the debt, pay it back. I had to pay back the debt. Well, give me reasonable arguments. What guidelines did Andrew break on those platforms? He's teaching young men how to be pimps. Now they have forgiven $20,000. I am able to buy a house now. Good for you, Sierra Miller. But don't get into more debt. Don't get into more debt. That's the last thing you want to do. But good for you that your life has improved since they are able to cancel the debt. I don't know exactly when it will take place, but good for you. So they go to college, but taxpayers will have to pay the bill. Yeah, that's fair. LOL. How are taxpayers paying the bill? Could you explain that to me? Are you going to be taking more? Is more money going to come out of your paycheck to pay for it? They haven't canceled it as of yet. According to Nancy, Biden doesn't have that power. Yeah, it hasn't been canceled yet. And was wrong with teaching young men that. It's immoral, and it pushes feminism. It pushes women to be in a very dangerous place. What's good about teaching young men that? Why should people who never went to college have to pay the debt? How will you be paying the debt? Are they going to take more money out of your paycheck? Are they going to come to you directly and say, hey, we need $500 so that way we can put it towards this debt? Yeah, explain it. Explain it. Are your taxes going to increase? Are you going to be paying more? Nobody is paying that debt. To the one saying it, it's being forgiven. Exactly, which is actually going to be deflationary. $300 billion are going to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? It's going to be forgiven. It's not like they're taking money out of your paycheck. It's just going to be eliminated. We shouldn't have to pay anyone's debt. Your responsibility. Are you paying the debt, though? Are you literally paying the debt? Debt will be paid with the same money that was supposed to be used to build a wall. Is the debt going to be paid for or just erased? Student debt is transferred to the taxpayer. How so? Explain it. Explain how it's going to taxes. Women don't want to work. You aren't paying for the debt. If it passes, it's forgiven. Read it up on it, people. Thank you, Haley. Oh, but it's okay for corporate welfare? Nobody's in favor of corporate welfare here. I don't think you know how that works. I don't think you know how that works. Could you explain it to me? Well, you pay your taxes, then it goes into a slush fund, part belly spending, then separate out for no such thing as free money. There is free money all over the place in cryptocurrency, by the way. Can you please put up Joe Biden and his dementia? I'd rather have my money to help students. Thank you, Dave. That's exactly right. That's the attitude right there. Why do we want to give debt to we forgive foreign nations their debts, guys? Do you not know that? We're willing to say, hey, poor nations, we'll forgive you your debt. The IMF gives debt cancellations. But we're over here so ignorant that we don't want to help our own American citizens, our own future, to pay off their debts, that they've been lied to. They've been sold a basket of lies about what college will do for them. The same boomers who are complaining about debt forgiveness were the same boomers that wouldn't help their own damn kids go to school, saying you had to have grit, even though they paid $12,000 for their house and their student debt. And they didn't have to take out student debt because the payments were like $100. They were super cheap. You could work a part-time job and pay off your students, your student credits. Yeah, I don't even want to help all those other countries. Exactly. What about the people who save their money to go to college? Do they get their money back? Why would they get their money back? Why can a kid borrow $100,000? They shouldn't be able to borrow $100,000 to go to college. It's predatory. It's disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. The average student is in college for like 5 to 6 years, and it keeps going up. Let's help everyone. LOL. College is garbage. College, for the most part, is garbage, which is why we should say, hey, kids, we effed up. All right? We effed up. Nothing is free. Okay. The problem is the schools. And the schools take money from the government to give them loans. Most people complaining about this never went to college. This is also true. Someone always ends up paying. Who's going to pay? I have 4 loans with $10,000 to $12,000, with 3 of those having higher than 11. Yeah, that's predatory. That's disgusting. Those interest rates are predatory. It's usury. It's immoral. If you can't afford college, make other choices. That's their fault. Nobody, aside from the wealthy elites, would be able to afford college then, dude. And I'm not even a big fan of college. The way they programmed us. Get a job, go to college, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. So why not say, let's try to reprogram or deprogram from the old ways? You agreed to the loans, did they not? Were they forced to accept it? Some of them may have been. Some of them may have been coerced into accepting it because of their parents, because of society. Learn a trade? I agree with you. Trades are good. What's going on, Mike Dave? We got banned from MOT News until the 30th, so we'll be here for now. Military service equals free school. Why would you want to serve the military when it's just fighting for big banks and foreign interest? Colleges make it easy to get loans from FISFA. Yeah, it's disgusting. I think, any Christian in here should not be opposed to what I'm saying. Why Andrew Tate should be canceled. He's a pimp. He's promoting pimpery, pimping to young men. Forced to be in debt. I don't think anyone is forced. Yeah, but they're going into slavery. Debt is slavery. And anybody who is a Christian or a Muslim should know that debt forgiveness is the way to go. That's biblical. Deuteronomy 15. Every 7 years, forgive the sins. Debts. What's going on?
Why do you disagree with Andrew Tate?
Yeah, so there's 4 specific reasons. First reason, he thinks that money is your savior. He's stated numerous times in podcasts and clips that I've seen. I've watched a lot of his content, by the way. I used to really get into the guy, but anyway, thinks money is your savior. So during the whole cough and sniffle thing, he said, hey, you had to wear a face diaper if you're going through the regular airports. Hey, you have to wear a face diaper if you don't have money to go other places. But if you got money, they don't make you wear a face diaper. Therefore, make money and you no longer have to deal with tyranny. That's false. That's 100% false. I'm not wealthy. Nobody forced me to put a face diaper on my face. Not once. Never wore one. Didn't have to. Fine. All right. So money is not your savior. God is your savior. Secondly, he says that God is an idea. He believes in God as far as an idea goes. That means he can make God whatever he wants to be. Thirdly, he is promoting, whether he is trying to or not, promiscuity. He may say he's for traditional families, but then he goes around and brags about starting a webcam industry where he would have the girls be the face of the show, and then he would be the one dirty talking to men for money. So that's kind of GAY and also immoral, and he's very proud of that. And he's also, teaching men in his courses how to pimp hoes. Literally, it's called a PhD courses, a pimping hoe degree. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing would be the fact that he is subverting Christianity and Islam. He uses Christianity and Islam as a moral crutch to say, or leverage rather, to be like, hey, I think that we should follow the morality in the Bible, and it's okay to follow the morality in the Quran because you can have 4 wives. But he doesn't talk about the fact that polygamy in the Bible is for widowers, typically, which means Andrew Tate is not following the Bible or the Quran because he says that he would never take in somebody who already has a child. And he then said too, if anybody follows those religions to a T, they're going back to the barbarian days. So he doesn't even believe in them. He just picks and chooses them how he likes, and that goes back into God being an idea. So that is the issues. Those are the issues I have with Andrew Tate.
I completely agree with you, and I completely changed my mind now.
All right, that's cool.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, you have a good one, man. All valid issues. Yes, Andrew Tate equals pyramid scheme. I don't know that he has a pyramid scheme. I'm not going to go over here and, yeah, he was very respectful. I don't think that HU is bad. I was in HU for a little bit, learn how to do some copywriting. There's many of courses you can take there. Now they've got rid of the affiliate link, so it's not focusing on that anymore. We can't say what we want. Yeah, I don't believe in free speech. I just want to preface this. I think Andrew Tate is an idiot, but I don't think he should have been banned. I think he should have been banned. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he's quite intelligent. Changing minds, one combo after another. That is rarely does that happen here. Usually people are too caught up in their ways to listen. Tyranny requires censorship. Freedom also requires censorship, bro. It goes both ways. Dems did not cancel debt. It's posted right back on the people. Okay. I personally think that they should take the endowments from the big universities. You don't believe in free speech. Free speech isn't a thing. No. I don't want a society where we're going to allow PEDOs to be able to say whatever they want. I don't want a society where we're going to have R words, RAPISTs, say whatever they want. Can't make changes without conversations. Glad to see the respect. Right on. Why you think Andrew Tate should be canceled? I don't know if you're just got here. I listed all the reasons, but I'll keep it concise because he promotes being a pimp. That's the biggest reason. They reduce exposure to all droplets, respiratory, saliva, blood. I don't know what you're talking about. What about Muslims who feel that theirs is the only religion? Good for them. I think that Christianity is the most true religion. Nobody believes that their religion is the only one. People believe that theirs is the best religion, the true religion. But every religion accepts that there are other religions. What happens when it's your turn to be silent? Okay. I've been silenced here before. You must not know me, Jesse. I'm getting banned all the time on TikTok. We have 4 TikTok pages to go live from. Tate uses Muslim and Christian views and tries to get their viewership. Exactly, Mike Dave. He's a new Jordan Peterson. Andrew Tate is the upgraded version of Jordan Peterson. Organized religion is designed to separate us from true spirituality. I don't agree with that. And you like that? I don't, but it's their terms and conditions. So I just need to be more tactful in my speech to get the message across. That's all. I respect it. More like the down. I say upgraded version because at least he's not a meth head, you know? And also, at least he's not pretending to be this intellectual. Whines about getting banned, doesn't want free speech. I'm not whining about getting banned. I'm proactive about it. Don't you see that? Don't you see I'm proactive? I have 4 accounts. I work hard to make sure I can speak on here. And I learn each time what I can't say. Now I've gotten to the point where I pretty much know everything I can and can't say. I've learned a lot from my experience. So it makes me smarter in my presentations and my delivery. Jordan Peterson is a, yes, he is. Why do you think he went to Russia? I'm down for canceling student debt. Me too. I'm down for canceling all debt after 7 years, as per the Bible. Ren Snuff is in the house. What's going on? Why should you have to self-censor, though? I self-censor in front of my kids. What are you talking about? I do my damnedest not to swear in front of my kids. Sometimes I slip up, but now I'm getting really good at it. Can't we just speak our minds? Yeah, you are capable of speaking your minds. It doesn't mean there won't be consequences. True. Tate cherry picks biblical lessons, but so are you, as evidenced by wearing 2 different cloths. I never said anything about that. I never said, hey, I shouldn't be doing that. And I don't even know that text that well. But I get what you're saying, but you can't pin that back on me because I'm not over here preaching it. I'm not being a hypocrite. That's the difference between Tate and I. I'm not being hypocritical. I may be doing something and I can acknowledge that I may be doing something wrong, but it doesn't mean that I'm over here preaching it, that it's okay. And also, I don't even know what that means in its true extent. Do you? Probably not. We should have them pay our mortgage also. I agree with that, 100%. Jesus was a brown socialist immigrant that loved the poor and a cost of the... No, he didn't. That's totally wrong. So would you agree that free speech, just not on this platform? No, I don't agree with free speech. I don't think PEDOs should be able to speak in public. I don't believe RAPISTSs should be able to speak in public. I don't believe any SA offender should be able to speak in public. I don't believe anybody who does what Andrew Tate does and encourage it to young men should have the right to speak in public. I don't believe GAY should be able to talk about what they do in public. You make excellent points about free speech limits and other perps. Exactly. Like, no, those are not Christian values. Free speech is not true Christian values. It isn't. Free speech applies to all law-abiding citizens. No. No, it shouldn't. I'm against free speech. You know, Islam, they have certain things you can't say when you're in their country. This is why we have free speech protections. Free speech doesn't equal freedom from consequences. People forget the latter. No, you don't know what freedom means then. Who are you to decide who gets to speak and not? Well, if you speak, I think that the Christians should be more like the Muslims in that you cannot curse our name. You cannot curse Jesus Christ's name. You cannot curse the Father's name. You cannot curse the Holy Spirit's name. If you do those things, those should be punishable. Due to internet era. Oh, man. So let's go back online. Don't know what happened there. All right, we're back. Give me a second, YouTube. I guess there was an internet issue. So there's that. Maybe I should get set up in the living room. Might be closer. Yeah, that's actually what I'll do. So hopefully everybody else can come back in as they were because that was a good conversation we were having. So I'm going to move everything into my living room and that should help out quite a bit. So bear with me, everybody. All right, hang on, guys. I just got to relocate into my living room because I think that's going to give me better reception. You know what? I think I'll just set up right here. It's going to be easier that way. All right. Let's try this again. Oop. All right. Cool. So hopefully everybody that was in the last chat will come back in because we were having some good combos. So I can't remember exactly where we left off. That's right. It goes against Christian values, to speak against the Lord. Free speech, just like TikTok. I'm not a fan of free speech. So we'll give it a second here. Let some people get in. It says hello, little bear Jew on TikTok. Hope you're doing well. Let me unplug this. All right. Hope you're doing well. We got a viewer on Twitch. Our Twitch following is growing slowly but surely. That's pretty cool. Like to see that. Thoughts on autonomous weapons? I don't have any thoughts on them right now. Hey, what's going on?
Yo.
What's going on, man? What do you want to talk about?
Wait, give me 1 second here.
Yep. You're telling everyone they're stupid because they don't want taxes for student debt. Good combo. Okay. What do you mean free speech? I don't believe in free speech.
You don't believe in free speech?
I don't. That was just one of the comments. But I'd like to keep our conversation on topic if possible. I know that we can maybe deviate as the conversation goes, but it should at least start on topic.
I just got here, so I'm not really sure which one you're on, but sure, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, I'm not on anyone, actually. I just had to restart my live. So was there a specific topic that you wanted to touch on?
I mean, we could touch on the top G.
Okay, yeah. What about him?
I'm just joking, by the way. I'm not like an Andrew Tate supporter.
It's all good.
I think there's about 10% of things that I agree with that he says, but 90% of it is just him trying to upsell his dumbass program.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you feel about him? Do you think he's 100% wrong and no one should ever listen to him, or how do you kind of align with it?
Yeah, so I think that if you're going to listen to Andrew Tate, listen to it with discernment. He's typically, I would not advise young men to listen to him because he's not the best role model as far as being successful in the monetary realm and physical realm, combat, etc. He's successful. He's worldly successful. Nobody can deny that. He's very fit, 4-time world kickboxing champion. He's not an idiot. I'd say he's pretty intelligent. I wouldn't say that he's like really, really intelligent, but he's pretty intelligent. He's done well monetarily, but that's one of the issues that I have with him is how he made his money, which is primarily pimping women. And I think that that's immoral. Yet he teaches a PhD course to do just that for young men. He encourages young men to be players before they settle down. I think that's wrong. I think that's more damaging than to women than anything. I think that promotes the tyrannical feminine in which he denounces. He speaks out against, but he promotes it whether he realizes it or not because of his promiscuity. The other thing that I don't care about him too much is the fact that he believes money is your savior. You talk about the whole cough and sniffle debacle. where he says, I don't have to wear a face diaper if I have my own private jet. I don't have to do these laws. I don't have to get tested if I have a private jet. Okay. I didn't have to do any of that either. I'm not wealthy. And it's because I have spiritual fortitude. I know my powers as a human being. So I don't need money in order to do that. Right. The other thing, he believes that God is an idea, meaning that God can be whatever he wants God to be. I think that that's wrong. I think that that's satanic. He also subverts Christian and Islamic values by cherry picking what he likes out of them. But then he's made the statement several times that if anybody follows Christianity and Islam to its truest extent, they're going to go back to the Stone Ages. So he's not really for Christianity. He's not really for Islam. He uses it to his advantage. And then I already mentioned the promiscuity part.
Yeah, I think he's a very interesting. I think we could both say the least. He's a very interesting character. I think the only reason that people really grasp to it, which is, by design of his to, sell people this idea. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of young men, especially, people that aren't left aligned or anything like that, and even some may be, but it's really, he's selling this idea that manhood is like, well, not manhood itself, but being like an alpha male and being a strong, independent man is somehow like going extinct, and that he's the messiah of manhood, and he's the one that's, coming to reincarnate it as an alpha male, and people are buying into it because he sprinkles these little things that are, obviously true. Like 1% of what he says is, something that we could all get behind, but the other 90% is just, a marketing scheme to get you to get into Hustlers University.
I have no issue with Hustler University. I have none whatsoever. I was in Hustlers University. I learned how to do some copywriting. I think that there's valuable skill sets in which they teach. It isn't just a pyramid scheme. It isn't just a multi-level marketing scheme. There are actually true courses that are taught in there. I think that the competition for universities will be immense as the technology is already there, but as people learn how to use the technology to make their own courses to teach practical skills. So I don't have an issue with Hustlers University. The other thing I will say, though, the War Room, he's alluded to it basically becoming the next Illuminati, yet he claims to be outside of the Matrix, but then he wants to be the controller. Essentially, he wants to be one of the controllers for the Matrix, meaning he will have to be inside the Matrix. So he's not even outside of the Matrix at all. I don't really have anything that great to say about him. I don't think that he's the greatest role model for men, and also he's not very, I don't think that he's very alpha. I think that the most alpha thing to do would be, being a good parent, being a good husband. I think that that's more alpha to take care of a household. I mean, he brags about his dad a lot, which I have no issue with. I think that it's good that he admires his father. But he admires his father for not putting up with his mom's stuff and leaving, not being beholden to a woman. But then he talks about how his sister became a raging feminist. Why do you think that is? Because she has daddy issues. Why does she have daddy issues? Because the dad left.
Right. So how do you feel about people like Jordan Peterson?
I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson. I think that Andrew Tate is an upgraded version of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leading into. And that's what I tell a lot of people that are kind of like younger people in my generation that are kind of watching Andrew Tate, is I'll tell them to go watch Jordan Peterson before that. Mm-hmm. And not like Jordan Peterson as a whole. Obviously, he talks about a lot of different topics, but just on like manhood alone and how men should be in society and values to have as a man. I think those isolated topics alone, I think Jordan Peterson is very credible, and I would agree with a lot of the stuff he says. He's not into like having 8 wives and just treating women like garbage. He's all about like fathers staying in the house and obviously being loyal to one woman and actually marrying and stuff like that. He's not about the trash that Andrew Tate's about. So I think he's on that topic alone. I think he's definitely superior morally to Andrew Tate.
No, I mean, Jordan Peterson is not a good guy. He supported he was a part of the UN's 2030 plan, so he's a depopist. I have to be careful in what I say, but he supports DEPOPULATION.
What is that, like population control?
Yeah, so getting rid of X amount of people. What does the host have? I'm telling you, Jordan Peterson is a fraud by and large. If you read his book, 12 Meanings of Life, he talks about a specific story where he doesn't defend his daughter when she was younger, when she was being bullied, and he was there. He did nothing. So that's very reprehensible as a father. He also became a very hard drug addict when his wife was diagnosed with cancer. So that's a very weak man. And Jordan Peterson is a liar. He won't speak out against the JEWs. He was asked about the question about him. He won't speak out against them at all because they control him. Jordan Peterson's a fraud. Nobody should listen to Jordan Peterson. Somebody tells you their mental life and somebody tells you about mental health, yet they go into a rehabilitation center for mental health issues. It's somebody you shouldn't be listening to.
I mean, yeah, I would agree. He's definitely, and he even openly admits that he's very emotional and deals with a lot of his own things. I mean, he's very open about that. And, there's several times where he's just talking and giving, speeches and then just starts crying. So, I mean, I could definitely agree that he's got some issues of his own that you would think that, with his background that he would have solved or taken care of or have under wraps.
And also the other thing that I lose total respect for him on is he starts teaching Christianity, yet he knows nothing about it. Literally nothing. He starts doing lectures on Christianity, but he even admits to not reading the Bible.
Yeah, I think he might enjoy the idea of a religion like Christianity, but yeah, I would agree. He's definitely not like some biblical scholar that could teach someone how to live a life of Christianity.
I don't think that he can teach anybody how to live a good life because if your fruits, so like you can say, oh, I can give good advice. Like the people who say, I give good advice, I just can't take my own advice, are the people you should not be listening to.
Right.
Because they don't believe their own advice. And then how do you know their advice is good if they don't actually do that advice?
So what were you meaning? I've never heard the topic you brought up about Jordan Peterson on the JEWs. I mean, we can call him something else if you want to, just so we don't have to spell something.
We could just call him the J words.
Yeah, the J words. So I've never heard that topic about that specifically.
Oh my gosh, I might get banned from this, but I
doubt it.
I'll just keep it very short. They are. So the question pertained to this: the Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Revolution was not started by. Do you know the Bolshevik Revolution? Firstly,
no, I don't think so. No.
So you know how Russia used to be the USSR, the Soviet Union?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know how the Soviet Union came to be?
No, I don't.
Through the Bolshevik Revolution. The Bolshevik Revolution was led by not Russians, but J-words. And they ended up controlling Russia. And the question pertained to them persecuting Christians in the Ukraine. And he asked Jordan Peterson if since they started Hollywood, this is a fact. Universal Studios was started by them. They stole Thomas Edison's inventions, took it to California, started Universal. All the Hollywood production companies are basically owned by them, as are most financial systems. But anyway, I totally lost my track. That's right. Okay.
So is he basically?
Yep. So basically,
if he would denounce them and he didn't.
No, not denounce them, but asking if he thinks that they have the same power and could do the same thing over again, like what they did in the Ukraine, punishing the Christians in Ukraine, the Holodomor, to America in the West. And he refused to answer the question.
Okay, I get your sense. It appeared that someone above him or someone that he's in cahoots with wouldn't allow him. He wouldn't be allowed to go against it.
Yes. I mean, he worked for the UN.
Right.
He helped write population stuff.
I mean, the only thing I could say about that is obviously, a certain group, even a large group, even if a million J words were to come together and do something, they don't really represent the entirety of that religion. Just like,
no, I agree with you.
Obviously, there's some bad Christians. They don't represent Christianity as a whole. But if we were to look at every corporation, every business, every bank, every NFL team, basically everything, and looked at if that person controlling that or owns that is Christian, we could say the same thing about Christians. Like, we could come up with a conspiracy theory that Christians control the U.S. banks or this or that. So, I mean, it's really only targeted toward J words of when they control something.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that there's a huge, and everybody in the chat, you have to understand that I'm having a conversation with an actual person right now. I don't know which of you are bots, which of you are not bots, which of you are trolls, which of you are not trolls. I'm actually talking to somebody right now. So I will focus on your comments after the conversation. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you that all religions can be bad. It's not the religion itself. I don't think that that's the issue. I think that it's a behavior and it's a spiritual problem. I don't think it has anything to do with them being J words. I'm not of that mindset. Unfortunately, though, this is how the N words, the people in World War II came to power. Because there was a lot of J hatred back then, which I don't agree with. Right.
And I think some of that, just to be fair, I think a lot of that is still resonating in America. After World War II ended, the whole J words control this, they're that, they're at the head of every bank, they control the currency, they're rich, they have space lasers. I think a lot of that still resonates in America without people realizing it, right? Because when I would say the common person thinks of a J word, they automatically think of those weird stereotypes as someone who controls the bank and controls news media and all that.
100%. 100%.
They don't realize that that's just propaganda and it's not based in reality.
Well,
I mean, sure, I'm not going to say that J words don't actually own banks and stuff. I'm sure they do, no doubt.
Well, they do. I mean, it is a fact that they run Adam Sandler made a song about it. You can look it up. It's called J Words Run Hollywood. It's very true. It's very true that they own most of the financial systems. It's very, very true. They're the ones that coined the term melting pot for the United States after World War II. So it's not even really an American thing. So there is a lot of bad things that they do, but it's not all of them. But we should be able to acknowledge it. We should be able to speak about it. It would relieve some of the tension. But they're definitely.
I think there's a lot of bad things that are seen when people think about J words. That's not true as far as people having these ideologies against them. Especially, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of this stuff is up crazy percentages this year and last year, anti-Semitic rhetoric and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a hard swing to the right, and most people are not anticipating that. And I'm hoping that these live streams I do when I speak to other people that are on the same frequency as me, but maybe are heading in the wrong direction as far as the Jays go, what they want to do. I think that I could help them, hopefully, from not doing – because I think that really the problem is people offload their sin on others. They don't want to admit that, hey, well, the Jays make all the cornos too. Fun fact. Pretty much all the cornos come from the Jays. All right? So, okay, you're complaining about the depravity in society, but yet you're going to sit there and watch corn. You're doing it to yourself. Oh, you're complaining about the Jays owning the financial system and they have the mortgage and the loans out. Don't take out loans. Don't get into debt. Then you're not beholden to them. Oh, don't watch their movies. Very simple. So there's nothing that you have to do physically to anybody. You can just fix what's inside of you without trying to point out the tyrant or controller outside.
So what do you think about Jays as a whole, like the religion, not really the people? I mean, obviously they are a part of the religion, so it's kind of one and the same. But do you think as a whole it's a negative thing, or do you think it's just very large groups of Jays that are needed to be kind of precisely, cut out of America?
Well, what do I think about it? I don't really have an issue with the religion. I mean, It can be offensive because they follow not really the Torah, but the Talmud, and they consider all non-Jays as, I don't even know if I can say it, but it's a G word, which basically means dogs. And that, all of us non-J words should be controlled by them. This is in their, religion. So, I don't really agree with that part of it, but I think that you have the right to practice your own religion. At the same time, I think a country reserves the right to kick any religion out that it wants.
So with that being said, I mean, obviously you're well aware there's a lot of people in America, especially in the past couple of years, have seen Christianity as like a negativity of America. Yep. How would you feel if the majority of Americans wanted to pretty much abolish Christianity in America? How would you feel about that?
I obviously wouldn't like it, but I would totally understand where they're coming from because Christianity has been totally cucked. It's weak. It makes men effeminate. And Protestantism is the main reason, I would say, in Catholicism. Those two sects of Christianity have failed society by and large. They become subverted. But that doesn't mean that Christianity is a bad religion. It doesn't mean that the book is bad. It doesn't mean that following Jesus Christ is bad. It doesn't mean that going to church is bad. But it means that the churches have been subverted. And Christianity is very, very weak in its current form. So I would understand 100% why. Because
I would say for me, the biggest thing I've seen, not in the religion itself, but in the culture of people who practice the religion, at least in the recent years, is that you can basically live any lifestyle you want and just cherry pick the Bible to, give yourself that feeling of, oh, I'm still a Christian. I'm a sinner, not a saint. So I can just live however I want and just repent once a week. And so they're really only a Christian on Sundays, and the rest of the week they're just basic, regular people doing whatever they want.
Facts.
So it kind of puts a bad taste in people's mouth for Christianity. Because when they think of Christians, they think of a guy down the street that, smokes whatever in a pipe, and on Sunday he says, "Oh, I'm not that anymore because I've repented."
Exactly.
Meanwhile, you have religions like, Muslims and Jewish people who, I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying that there's very devoted people that their religion isn't just a religion, it's a lifestyle. So they live their entire lives devoted to it.
100%. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for Muslims. I do. I think that I typically subscribe to the Orthodox Christian theology. I've never been through the catechism or anything like that, or catechism or whatever it's called. Are baptized in the Orthodox Church, but I have studied it quite a bit, and it is the sect of religion of Christianity that I prescribe, that I really, really like. And I'm saying that because they seem to really follow Christianity as it's taught. A lot of them do, and I bring up the Muslims because the Muslims and the Orthodox Christians, they don't really have a lot of issues with each other. I mean, obviously, they both think that they're right. But aside from that, there's a lot of mutual respect. A lot of the Muslims that I talk to have a lot of respect to the Orthodox because they're the ones that will remain truest to the faith. In Muslims, you go over to the Middle East, in a lot of countries there, they have Sharia law. Christians who are real Christians would want something like Sharia law in the country they live in because it's close to what the Bible says, and it's not really a bad thing. Your Sharia law says no usury, which means, guess what? We would not be talking about this stupid student loan crap because it'd be illegal. Any interest on your debt should be illegal. It's against the Bible. And there also should be debt forgiveness. That's in the Bible. Why is that not talked about amongst Christians? You have so many Christian conservatives, quote unquote, who are like, why do I have to pay your debt? When it literally says in Deuteronomy 15, every 7 years, you should forgive people of their debts.
Right, and I think the issue is people are almost today incentivized to cherry pick because the people above them, the people that they are under, also live that lifestyle of cherry picking the Bible. So it's kind of passed down from family to family, or from coworker to coworker, or from boss to employee, to cherry pick in order to look like you have this lifestyle. But it's not really. It's all just a facade.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really living Christianity how it's supposed to.
Right. Yeah. So I would totally get why people are atheists today, why they don't like Christianity. I totally get it. I went through that phase. The people in my family, they couldn't describe Christianity to me.
Right.
They didn't even know their own faith. So,
and that's most of Americans, right? I know obviously if you take a poll and look at how many Christians are in America, I would say the majority of them are just Christians on paper. Like, they just claim Christianity to identify with a religion. They don't really know Christianity in and out and actually understand what it is.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not even saying that I know it in and out. There's a lot that I'm learning, But, yeah, man, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to discuss.
Not really. I just kind of wanted to get your perspective. I think it's been a very good conversation.
Likewise.
I'll pop out and let somebody else in, but just to let you know, I'm a J-word. I just wanted to get your perspective on it.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good one.
All right, you too, man. All right, bye. Oh, he's sneaky. See? No, that was a good combo. Seemed like a really good guy. All right, so let's go through some of these comments because people are getting offended that I wasn't addressing them despite the fact I was having a conversation. Why would you pick a religion? Okay. Dude, Andrew Tate is worse than canceled. He has no platform. What do you want from him? He can make his own platform. Fact, he could. I know Owen Benjamin is literally one of the most banned people on the internet. Made his own platform, him and Vox Day, that have their own live streaming platform. Nick Fuentes has his own live streaming platform. We're watching. Oh, Teddy. Oh, man. Interesting. So I like how you snuck that in at the end. But I do think the rhetoric is dangerous. I don't think that you should be aiming your hatred or anger at anybody else. There's so much sin in your life, that you could be working on. And that's what's causing you anger. And I have no problem with the Jays whatsoever. I don't. I really don't. But I think that we should be able to talk about the fact that, they do run a lot of stuff, a lot of big things. And that's okay. I actually admire them. I want my family to be kind of like them in the sense that we stick together. Like, we have a huge tribe and we will always help our tribe out. I think that's huge. I really admire them for that. That's actually something I want to apply to my family. No lie. What are you talking about? You can't cancel someone who doesn't care. Okay. Tate being canceled, but not Cardi B or other toxic musical artists. Yeah, there's that argument, right? They should all be canceled. We should cancel Cardi B. We should try to get her canceled. That'd be great. Be good for humanity. Trump gets $2 gas, Democrats. User 839, you sound like a robot. What'd she do? What do you mean? Such a cancel culture with you guys. With you guys, who are you lumping me with? Deadpool, you don't tell me what to do. I get banned here for saying certain things. It's just the way it goes. It's the nature of the beast. I'm not liberal, by the way. I'm a monarchist. Hey, what's going on?
All right. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
All right. Nice. I want to talk to you about Andrew Tate should be banned. Now, before we start talking, I think it's important to note I don't agree with most of the things that Andrew Tate says.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if we look at the good deeds that Andrew Tate has done, like donating to orphanages, donating to donating to charities and stuff like that, and also if we look at the freedom of speech, essentially it is like why should we be banning Andrew Tate, and should we be canceling Andrew Tate when there are other people which just the same hateful stuff that Andrew Tate is saying, and just it looks like I'm frozen. Am I frozen?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. So, like, why are we hyper focusing on Andrew Tate? Like, okay, I believe that either we cancel all of them or we cancel none of them. Like, canceling just Andrew Tate does nothing. It's just, after Andrew Tate, Sneako's gonna take his place, some other random's gonna take his place. You're not fixing a problem if you're just canceling the person that is saying hateful stuff. You need to cancel the whole reason why he was brought up, like why people started looking up to him, which was a lot of crazy third wave feminists that just were spouting hateful shit towards men. And you need to cancel those people as well. You can't just say cancel Andrew Tate, that's it, fix the problem.
Yeah, that's not my argument. I get where you're coming from, but that's not my argument at all. I do agree with you, though. We should cancel all degenerates. We should not give them a platform at all. I agree with you. But the third wave feminists are a result of men like Andrew Tate.
I mean, I would say the opposite, actually, because look, if you look at when third wave feminists really started to appear, it was 2014, I think. When you started having like people having breakdowns about straight white men being the also privileged straight white men, right? Before that, people were really chill on the internet and real life. Like everybody coexisted. It was generally agreed upon that men and women have more or less the same rights. And then came the Nazi feminists, 2013, 2014. No, before that. And then after they started saying their hateful message, which was men should be canceled, kill all men, men don't deserve certain rights, that, you have the rise of incels. And Andrew Tate was riding this wave of incels, right? People that have get no gain, that start hating women, and they start saying, they start saying, look, this guy, he is somehow right. He's somewhat right. And what Andrew Tate was saying, in some cases, what actually right. Like he was denouncing the women that were saying, look, men should not exist. Men should not have their masculinity. Mm-hmm. I agree with that message of his.
But here's the thing. Here's what I'll say to that. First off, women had no say until men gave them a say. So the men cucked a long time ago.
Yeah, sure. But we can argue that, first wave feminism, second wave feminism, it was generally good.
No, they weren't. I don't think any of them were good. I think you can only get to where we are because of giving women to right to vote.
But women got the right to vote when, like, if you think the historical context in most countries where women got the right to vote was women that proved that they were functioning members of society.
No, so really quick, in the United States, the history of how it all started in the United States was in Wyoming. Wyoming was the first state to give them the right to vote. The reason they gave them the right to vote, Democrats fought for it. I'm not politically affiliated either way. I think that both parties are very, very weak and corrupt and degenerate. Anyway,
I agree.
The Democrats said, okay, we need to get the women to vote because the Republicans have African Americans to vote. That was the only reason they got the right to vote. But then the women most of them didn't want it. There was a huge anti-suffrage movement because what entailed being a voter was having the ability to be drafted for war. And they didn't want that. They didn't want the responsibilities of men. And so they had to cater to the women in order to get them the right to vote. And then I would argue that it was the beginning of the end for America in a lot of ways, because you then allow for the seeds of division to be sowed within the household. If you only have the head of household voting for the family, then the family, i.e., the husband and wife, the mother and father, will work together, ideally, as to who they will want to vote for. And the husband will be the representative of the household. Therefore, the room for division is greatly reduced. But then you allow his wife to vote. Well, now you can make the argument that their voting power increased, especially if they remain as a team, as a unit, as one. However, what's more likely to happen? Well, over time, they're going to slowly drift away, drift apart. There's a lot of split households, and that causes a lot of issues.
I'm coming from a European point of vision. I didn't know about this in America. I'm just talking like more globally speaking. It was like women that were requesting the right of suffrage. And ideally, yes, house in the houses it should have worked like that, but it doesn't mean that ideally it did work like that. Like if you think about it, most women like in the world, in Europe, in America, most women got their right to vote at the end of the First World War, right, or like at the beginning of it, right, which is when women managed to prove that it wasn't about gender and that they could be integral members of society. Obviously, in America, it was different. America has its own history, but I'm just saying that generally speaking, first and second wave feminism were good. The first one was asking for the same right of women to men, and the second one was asking for the right to work. Which
I disagree.
We can talk about how it was bad for some women. Like some women did not want it, sure. But if you look at it, right, there are women that are against abortion, right? That doesn't mean that we should ban abortion. That doesn't mean that. But yeah, coming back, I think that we shouldn't like cancel. I think that we shouldn't. First of all, canceling Andrew Tate will really do nothing. Like if he was silenced because he was banned from Instagram and all of the social media. But if you were just canceling him, like, oh, Andrew Tate is canceled, it wouldn't have done nothing. Cancel culture, shit, it does nothing. It's just a time waste.
I'm for cancel culture. I think that we should have more of it. Because I don't think certain people deserve the right to speak. I don't think people who promote pimping women deserve the right to speak. I don't think men who promote webcams of cornos should be able to speak. I don't think PEDOs should be able to speak. I don't think RAPISTSs should be able to speak in public. I don't think that people who commit any SA offense should be able to speak in public. I would go even as far as saying, since I'm a Christian and I believe in what I would like to see, which probably won't happen in my lifetime, but maybe in my great-great-grandchildren's lifetime, a Christian monarchy. I would like to see if that was implemented similar to what Muslims do. You can't curse our God. You cannot curse Jesus. You cannot curse the Holy Spirit. So I'm not for free speech. I'm not for letting everybody speak. I'm not for that. I think that there's certain people who should not be allowed to speak in public.
Right, but if you think about it, right, I can just make different rules and it wouldn't apply to you. Okay, so first of all the claims of Andrew Tate being an SAer or being a cam pimp were debunked. I mean, yeah, he did admit to
no,
the fact
it
that
is not. It's not debunked. What are you talking about? He literally says literally he said that the way he made his millions was by hiring by his girlfriends. He said that he brought 4 girlfriends to Romania with him, told them, "Hey, this is what we're doing." 2 of them left, 2 of them stayed. They were cool with it. And then
they were consensual. It's like,
I know. Nobody said they forced him. I never said that he forced them.
So why
I never said that.
Why are you against men that help women start their cam forward business? Like, why are we okay?
Because it's immoral. Because it's immoral.
Men that help women with OnlyFans, but not with cam
because it's
forward.
immoral.
Like,
I think that
it is immoral, but technically,
no, I think that corn should be illegal. I reject corn. I don't watch it. I don't promote anybody watching it. Any form of corn, I'm saying that because apparently it's a trigger word for TikTok. I totally disagree with it. I think it's immoral. I think it should be illegal. And I think that anybody who is promoting it or doing it should be in jail.
Okay, Yeah, fair. I mean, I'm not going to debate that point. I don't personally agree with that point, but that's your personal standpoint. Andrew Tate started, he made his millions actually not by pimping women, but by working with the Romanian mafia, which was, he admitted to it. It doesn't make it good, but it doesn't mean that he was an SAer, right? But if we turn the question around, right, I can say, what if I don't believe that, men that beg for money online, or men that discuss certain topics online cannot speak. Like,
Where do you get your moral authority from? Where do you get your moral authority from?
Myself.
That means nothing.
Counselors say that people that debate Andrew Tate should not be allowed to speak.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, then start your own. So yeah, I mean, you can think that, but where is your authority from? You have no ground to really say that. My authority comes from God. So I do have the moral authority over that.
What if I make up my own God?
It doesn't matter. It's a fake God.
I believe the God of testicular cancer.
Well, it's a fake God. So it doesn't matter. It's a fake God.
Okay, you're saying that the Christian God is the right God?
It is.
How? There's no proof of that.
Yeah, you have order in your world.
You're coming from a deranged mentality that
No.
my God is right. What I say is right as well.
No, I am just telling you that in order to have any moral authority, you need to have a higher power. Logically, you cannot come back to yourself and say, I am the moral authority, because it's just then subjective. There needs to be something above to give authority over all.
Right.
There's natural order in the world. Fact, there's natural order in the world.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but let's go off and say that, okay, whatever. Let's not give these people a platform to speak from. Sure. We're talking about, how Andrew Tate was caused by third wave feminism. And look, cancel culture, right? You like talking about history. Cancel culture started when in 2010, 2013, when people start realizing that the society that we live in is so classist, meaning that the top 1% owns like 50% of the bottom population wealth. People start realizing that, and newspapers started publishing these articles about inequality and racism and cancel culture in general. That's why I believe that it is inefficient, meaning that we have such more things to worry about than to sit around and discuss how Andrew Tate is immoral. Because technically, a lot of Christian speakers that you are going to come across in your life, they are also immoral. Like if you talk about all the online churches, what, are they not immoral? If you talk about all the people that discuss abortion, are they also not immoral? So everybody has a level of immorality. It's really where you draw the line of morality and immorality. Right, because I can say in your life you have done your fair share of sin. Like nobody has done no sin in life.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrew Tate has also done sin.
Yep.
Sure. But why are you allowed to sit here and criticize Andrew Tate? But Andrew Tate should
very simple, because I'm not being hypocritical. Because I don't watch corn. I don't support corn. I don't support pimping women. I don't support getting in nefarious gangs with the mafia or anything like that. I don't support the idea of money being a savior, which he promotes. I don't support the idea of God being an idea.
It is though.
Money is not a savior. It's false.
Let's assume
false.
that there is no. Let's assume that after we die, there's nothing after we die. Andrew Tate, basically what Andrew Tate is promoting, right or wrong, I'm not saying I agree with it, because Hustlers University is a Ponzi scheme. But what we're saying is, a pyramid scheme. But what he's saying is, money is the driving factor in life, and it is the driving factor in life, because you can sit here and talk about how after we die, if we did good deeds, we're going to end up in heaven. But there's no concrete evidence for that. It's better to live your life the way that you would love. Like the way that you would like, so not slave away at a job, being dependent in a marriage that you're not happy in. That's what Andrew Tate is promoting. Andrew Tate is promoting men to think for themselves, right?
He's not. He's promoting slavery. He's promoting men get into I was in Hustlers University, so I don't think it's a Ponzi scheme. I don't think it's a pyramid scheme. I actually think it's a legitimate business. Did he have an affiliate link? Yeah, but he also had many other things that you could do in there outside of the affiliate link, actually teaching you valuable skills for business owners, such as copywriting. So I have no issue with HU. But in some of the courses that you can find there, Andrew Tate encourages men to get in massive amounts of debt and not pay it off. That's getting into slavery.
Debt is not slavery.
Debt is slavery. Debt is slavery.
I think I know what you're talking about. Are you talking about him fleeing the UK because they were looking for him?
No. I'm talking about the fact that he told young men that you can max out debt and not pay it back unless you want better credit, unless you really, really need it. Unless you really need the credit, don't have to pay it back. Sam Hyde promotes the same thing. Sam Hyde also says debt maxing, credit maxing is what it's called. I think that that's immoral. I think that that's wrong. And I think that debt is our form of slavery.
But you're committing like a mistake here, because you are looking at it from an I view it as perspective, meaning that
debt is slavery. Debt is slavery.
I say, objectively speaking, from what we know, this is right. You're saying from my morality, from my God, which again I'm not going to discuss this.
No, I'm telling you that debt is slavery. If you look throughout history, the people in the Holodomor, for example, the Ukraine crisis, the farmers that got their land taken away and that were starving, etc., were those who had debt. Fact. In the USSR, same scenario.
In the USSR, wait, what?
Yeah, the landowners who had debt, they were also the ones that got really in trouble. But there was also people who had their own private farms because they didn't have debt.
In the USSR,
fact. Yes.
There was no private property.
Wrong. I'm a history major. I studied this. Not very much in depth, but yes, this is true.
How can you say that, for example, when you talk about collectivized farming, how can you say that in the USSR there were private farms where every farm was...
That isn't true. That isn't true. So if you look at, I actually have a book in my library. It's called The Law in the Soviet Union. In it talks about the fact that in the USSR, you were able to have, your own car, your own private, personal possessions, and you could have about a half-acre farm where you can grow your own food from.
Oh yeah, okay.
And you can grow, and no, hang on. Before you add anything, you can provide all the food you need for your family on half-acre. Fact.
No, absolutely. I know that. I got confused because I thought you were talking like a commercial farm.
No.
Like, you could have a private farm, obviously. Like the government was handing out land, especially. But especially like, no?
Well, I mean, yes, they were. But what I'm saying is that people who did not have like their land taken away because they weren't beholden to banks or anything like that, or any of the financial institutions that were also overtaken, because a lot of the stuff during these collapses, during these starvation periods, during these collectivized periods, take place because of litigation. I mean, they're able to just basically read the law and say, oh, we can take your property because you owe us debt. You owe us money.
Right. Okay.
So debt is slavery. Debt is slavery. Historically, it's proven debt is slavery.
I see the point that you're making. But, okay. Yeah, I'm going to agree to the fact that what Andrew Tate is saying about debt is wrong. I mean, I heard about what he was saying about taxes. That's also wrong. I'm sorry about that. I shouldn't have come there.
It's all good. It's all good. We're having a good conversation, dude. It's all good.
I'm enjoying this conversation because like we're having like a nice chat. Right? What I'm saying about Andrew Tate though is maybe the way that he made his wealth is not moral. Obviously, it is not. Like he gambled, his scheme, he made associations with the mafia, a lot of things. But I don't think that canceling Andrew Tate and cancel culture in general, right? If you think more broadly, is doing anything for our society as a whole. What celebrities, except for James Charles, that have been canceled, actually ended their career? Right, getting canceled is a hobby now.
Yeah,
there are people that thrive on being canceled because it gives you more attention.
100%.
Andrew Tate, for example, he got canceled how many times? Why should we look? What I'm trying to say is, in this world, there's so many problems. besides people. If you go besides society, we have global warming, we have a lot of issues, right? So spending your time debating if somebody is moral or immoral, or sitting there on Twitter and saying Andrew Tate is canceled is pointless. It brings no results. It's just shows how stupid and how regressive a society we have become.
No, I think what shows that we've become regressive is the acceptance of damn near everything. I think that that's extremely regressive. I believe what you're saying is 100% right in regards to cancel culture. Has it been? I think that it's been subverted. I think that it's being used in a lot of ways as a promotion tool, as you stated. I think Andrew Tate's only going to become more famous. Now he's on mainstream news. So it's working to his advantage. Alex Jones became richer.
I'm gonna interrupt there. Not to mention the fact that cancel culture decides what people like. What people get canceled, which is also a problem. Because if we want to stop talking about like SAers and if we want to cancel, I don't know, people that scheme, we have to cancel a lot of celebrities that have openly admitted of raping people. Like for example, Cardi B. We still don't have that.
Here's what I would say. So here's the thing. This is what I was getting to in that statement. Everything you're saying regarding cancel culture, I can't disagree with. You have great points. I agree with that. Just canceling Andrew Tate's going to make him more famous. Just canceling Alex Jones, who I'm more of a fan of Alex Jones than I am Andrew Tate. Although, you know, I'm by the way, I'm far right, guys. I'm not a liberal. I'm like a monarchist. I want the church and state to be together. I want a king. I want extreme law and order. I'm very, you know, I'm liberal capital punishments. Like I'm all for extreme law and order. So I'm not liberal in any sense. Maybe in some ways, I can't say that. I'm a nuanced thinker. So there's probably some things that I'll be like, somebody would say my stance on student debt cancellation is liberal, whatever. But my point is that while you're right, the reason cancel culture is the way it is, whether you can see this or not, is because of the morality of the people. Because people don't understand that governments are simply an external manifestation of our inner worlds. And I'm not trying to be spiritual here. That's just fact. Our ideas, our thoughts, our feelings, how we want to set up society, that's our inner world. And then we find out a way to bring it into being. That's analogous to me saying, I'm a shipbuilder, but the ships are inside of me before I bring them out. You know, I have to get the material, but I come up with the concept. I have this idea that I then bring into the world. So governments are similar to that. They're exactly that, I would say. They're external manifestations. With that, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong, in a sense, with cancel culture. What becomes wrong with it is when the morality is so subverted and evil that it then just becomes to the point where now people like Andrew Tate will be looked at as if he's really speaking truth because he's banned. Because that's the reputation being banned has given you, is you must be speaking truth if you're banned. You must be a really good person if you're banned, which there's a lot of evidence to suggest that. There's a few people that I subscribe to, Owen Benjamin, Vox Day. I think that they are very good people. I think that they are very good to listen to. They're also, you can call them very far right. And they've been banned for years, way before cancel culture became a thing. But the issue is the morality of the people and who they're determining is canceled. If we had a higher moral standard, the canceling would actually be something most people agree upon. It wouldn't be debated. The reason it's an issue is because we are so morally confused in the West. We have no God to go to. We have no higher power. We have no moral compass whatsoever. The West, by and large, has lost that. Whether you believe in a God or not, the morality of the West has gone tremendously down. And that's why cancel culture has become the way it is.
Look, what you're saying is technically right. I will have to correct you on only one thing, which is government doesn't dictate society. It's otherwise. For me personally, I think that society dictates the government and in turn.
Well, that's what I said.
Society.
Well, that's what I said. I said that the people, it's an the government is a external representation of the people's inner world. So I don't think the government's bad. I don't think the government's bad at all. I think the government is an institution that's a tool, and it can be bad. But the government overall is not bad. It serves a good purpose in people's lives. Ideally. Now, it can be corrupted. It can be totally corrupted. It can become really, really bad. But that's because of the people's inner world, not because of the government. Because the government itself is this non-living entity.
Right. But let's talk about like a topic that is connected, right? Which is how easily social media silenced Andrew Tate, right? Do you not think that it is scary, the fact that somebody can get silenced just like that by non-government, by private corporations?
No, why is it scary? Why is it scary?
Because, okay, look, Instagram, for example, right? They silenced Andrew Tate. He broke no rules. He didn't say anything offensive on Instagram. TikTok, he didn't say anything offensive on TikTok. Yeah, sure, there were videos of him saying offensive shit on TikTok, but he didn't say them himself. Why was he banned from there? Why is it okay with you that somebody can, why is it not scary to you that somebody can just get yeeted out of existence for having the quote?
They're not out of existence. They're not at all.
Yeah, I mean, they have no outlet.
That's false.
How is it not false?
He put out a video the other day.
Right, and if you look at it, YouTube took it down.
It doesn't matter. The video's still out there. Additionally, you could also do this. Going back to my example of Owen Benjamin and Vox Day. And Nick Fuentes. They all started their own streaming platforms, man. And they're successful. So if you have a sizable audience,
only the following really uses it.
I'm sorry?
If Andrew Tate made his own platform, only Andrew Tate listeners would use it.
That's not true, because there's also outlets like BitChute. There's also outlets like BitChute and Odyssey.
But nobody uses it at the same level as people use TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
Which again brings me to the same point. Why was he banned from Instagram? Why was he banned from TikTok? Why was he banned from YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
He said nothing that broke terms of service.
Did you read their terms of service?
Sorry?
Have you read their terms of services?
Yeah, technically it does say that there is a clause that say that they reserve the right to terminate every account if they so wish. But there was no reason to. There was absolutely zero reason to. Have you looked at Andrew Tate's Instagram profile? Because before it went down,
I followed him. Once again, I used to be a fan of Andrew Tate, but then I really started analyzing and focusing on this, and there was a lot of true things that he said that brought me into him. I was like, okay, I'm not against polygamy. I don't think it's anti-Christian. I don't think it's anti-Christian. But then I started picking up on the fact that he's subverting Christian values, subverting polygamy. Started really thinking about the fact what he's doing with women and webcams. He's very charismatic, so I will give him that. And that's how I got very intrigued. That's how I became very intrigued. I joined Hustlers University. I think that there's some good things that he can teach young men, but overall, I don't think that he's the ideal man people should be looking up to. That's my biggest issue. When you really look at him and you analyze him, he's the opposite of what you want men to look up to.
Why?
Well, firstly, I've already stated that he believes money is your savior. It is not. It is not. So the example that he used.
It is not, because in your moral compass, it is not. But
tell me how money is a savior. Give me your argument. Give me your argument for how money is savior.
Okay, so I'm like you. I'm not starting with the free point that after we die, we go to some plane of existence where.
No. Forget that. Tell me how money is your savior. Give me the argument for that.
The more money you have, the more. Hold on just a second. The more money you have, the more independent you are. And that is just a fact. If I have $1 million, I don't have to worry about what I'm gonna eat next. I don't have to worry where I sleep next. If I slave away at a 9 to 5 and I have just enough money to pay my bills and don't travel anywhere, don't experience life, then there is no point to life. There is no reason to live if you don't get to experience the pleasures of life.
So you need money in order to experience the pleasures of life.
You do.
Do you pay for sex? Have you?
Pay for what?
Have you ever paid for sex?
Because I am generally a normal-looking guy. I'm not saying good-looking, but generally I can attract women. No.
So no.
There are
Okay.
people
So you don't need.
There are people that have to.
Hang on. But no, nobody has to. So you just said that the pleasures of life. Hang on. I'm analyzing your argument here. So you said you need money in order to enjoy life, experience the pleasures in life. But one of the pleasures of life, you've admitted that you don't need to spend money on, right? So now what about if you wanted to, let's say, drink some alcohol? There are plenty of bums, right, that are drunks.
I would need money.
But there's bums. There's people who are homeless who can go get their drugs or alcohol, right?
They're donated money that they then use to buy drugs or alcohol.
Or in prison, you can make your own. Hang on. No. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because there's people in prison who don't have money.
There's people in prison that are past goods like ramen, and ramen has become currency.
So you don't need money.
To pass stuff to prisoners, you actually have to pay with money. So yeah, money is dictating prisons as well.
No, because you can
tax money, so that's also money. Money runs the world, man.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Money runs the world, and the world runs with money.
No, it doesn't. That's an illusion, because there's many of people in the world today that live with no money. They have a sustainable community. They don't. You can give them €1 million. You can give them $1 million US, and what will they do with it? They'll burn it. They'll burn it because they don't need it.
The fact that some people refuse to live without money, or decide that their life is good when they have little money. Like, for example, college students, right? They
what I'm talking about, man. No, hang on. Really, what I'm talking about here is the fact that you don't need money to be your savior. That's the argument. Money is not your savior. No, you don't. You don't.
Yes, because when you convince yourself that your life is complete when you don't have money, right? Well, obviously, to experience the basics of life, right? To eat shit, you can eat the produce of the earth. You can drink water from the river. Cavemen did it all right. But if you want to experience the pleasures of life, which is travel around, eat good food, I don't know.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I would tell you. I would argue that hunter gatherers and nomads lived a healthier life than humans do today. Mental health was way low. Obesity was way low.
And people died at 30.
No, so here's the thing. People die at 30 today, but if you actually look at it, the reason why the data is so skewed is because more babies died back then. But in reality, hang on. But in reality, humans have always lived as long as they're living today, if not longer. Fact.
You're a historian, man. You should know this.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you the data is skewed. I'm telling you the data is skewed because of infant mortality. Because infant mortality was included in all lives. All right. But the people, if you go back to ancient Rome, people who lived out in the rural areas lived 80, 90, 100 plus years on average.
But they also died from really preventable disease.
People die from really preventable diseases every day. That's never changed.
That's not the same, though.
But they were living on average just as long as we're living today.
Sorry, please don't talk over me. In the 1400s Europe, everybody ate organic food. Everybody's mental health was at the top, but people still, like a third of the population still died because of the Black Plague. Something that right now, why are you shaking your head? That is an objective fact.
Yeah.
So a third of people that lived in that age died from the Black Plague because there was no cure for that, right? And money and the Industrial Revolution and the globalization and a lot of other factors did improve living conditions. Yeah,
I don't think so.
Some people did survive up until they were 90, but the amount of people that live today to be 90 and the amount of people that then live to be 90 is different.
No,
It's not the same.
I think that life expectancy was much higher back then.
No, it was not.
Okay, well, we disagree.
Life expectancy, right? And okay, I'm gonna bring you the data that was infant mortality, right? Life expectancy was 30 years old at the beginning of the 19th century, right? At the end of the 19th century, if I don't remember if it was 40 or 50, but it is growing rapidly. And that brings me back to the point. Today I'm meeting up with some mates. If I want to go have a good time, have a couple of beers, go eat out, I need money. If I want to travel to my home, visit my grandparents, I need money. If I want to do anything, I need money. And Andrew Tate is telling people that working from a 9 to 5 and slaving away and living in bad conditions is not good. You're not gonna reach your full potential if you don't have money. If you abandon money as your driving cause.
Yeah, you have an Enlightenment philosophy. I think the Enlightenment destroyed the West. I think that this idea that you need to enjoy all the pleasures of life, all of the things that life has to offer is nonsense. I think it's nonsense. I get a lot of fulfillment, as do a lot of men, as do a lot of humans. I would argue that more humans get more fulfillment after out of working hard for their family, even if they live in a mud hut, working hard for their family to ensure that they have some food. They don't need money necessarily. There's plenty of people who live without money every day. Money is not a necessity. If money was a necessity for all human beings would require money. It's not needed. Fact.
That is not. Okay. Money has existed. You're a history major. Money has existed ever since society was made, which was 4,000 before Christ, right? And before current era.
So,
right. And so for 6,000 years, money has existed, and from 6,000 years, our life has been getting better because of money. We have been able to go from hunting and gathering to sitting in comfortable homes, talking on the internet about how money is bad.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting, right? But I wouldn't say that necessarily life has gotten better. If you look at the mental health, if you look at all the prescription drugs people take, if you look at the obesity, if you look at all the things.
That is a different topic. You're switching topics because you have no way of disproving.
No. I'm not. No. I'm tying it in. I'm saying that those things.
It's not related. I personally have a very controversial opinion on antidepressants and the drug industry.
Yeah, well, no. The reason I bring that up, I bring it into the conversation because you're saying that our standard of life, because materially it's improving. And I'm telling you that materially it may have improved. However, the mental health, the physical health, all of these things have actually, not improved at all. They've actually gone down. And you can make the argument that it's a direct correlate, that it's the correlation with the hypermaterialism has caused, there's a correlation between there. And you can argue that the causation is there as well. But what I will say is this: I'm living an example that you don't need money to live. So I go help out at this farm. And at this farm, I just do work in exchange for some raw milk, and sometimes I get some eggs. People can literally money. What it serves as is a middleman to transfer data for goods and services. It's just a tool of accounting. Right. Is it necessary? No. Is it your savior? No. Does it make society convenient if you're living in society? Yes. I'm not saying that your life wouldn't be more convenient if you had more money. That's not my argument. My argument is that money is not your savior.
It is.
No, because you're saying that it allows you. So what you're saying that money does.
Hold on. Can we both agree on the fact that the more money I have, the better my life is?
No.
Why not? I used to work in this farm when I was living in Belarus, right? I have seen how people live, and they convince themselves that they don't need money.
That's you projecting onto them. Literally.
I'm not projecting onto
you just did. You just said that they acted as if they did not need the money.
Because when you don't have the money to experience how life is with money, you cannot say that my life is good.
Yeah,
That
you
is-
can.
Like it's like people that
You're
it's like
projecting
people
because
that
you
aren't
literally
kids.
can.
How? You cannot.
You're projecting because you're saying, basically, you're looking at the poor people when you saw them and you're like, wow, how can they live that way? I can never live that way. They will never experience a good life because they're poor. You're projecting, wow, on the other side of things, they could be like,
I never said that they're never going to live a good life because they're poor.
you just said that they would
if they're
never
happy-
experience a good life because they
they're
don't have
happy-
money.
By my standards, yes. If they're
And
happy
your
milking
standards are
cows,
subjective.
They're helping. If they're happy, morality is subjective.
No, it's not.
If they are happy milking cows, it is.
No, it's not. So you
Morality
think,
is subjective.
no, it's not. It's not. Fact, it's not. It can't be. It can't be. It isn't.
If in my morals, like say I'm gonna go kill my father because father side is good. Sorry, patricide is good. That is my morality, right?
That
And
isn't.
obviously we can discuss.
That's immoral.
we can
It's not a
discuss-
morality.
We can discuss that. No, that's illegal.
It's
That's
inverted.
different.
Well, no. So
It's
it
illegal.
doesn't matter about the law. It's immoral
How is it immoral?
because you shouldn't kill your father.
Why?
You
Who
shouldn't
said
kill.
so?
It's very simple
you-
because you're made in the image of God.
Oh, but you are coming from the assumption that I believe in God. and
Well, there
that
is a God. Whether you accept that
real.
or not, there is a God, and that's the only way you
There's
get
no
moral
proof of the
authority.
God. There's no proof of the God that you.
There is.
somehow-
There's order in the.
so
There's
much
order.
proof of that.
There is. Everywhere you look, there's order. Order comes from
No.
something.
Where's the order?
What do you
You
mean?
have famines. You have war.
What do you
have
mean?
Suffering. You have pain.
What do you
Where do
mean?
you
Where's
see
the order? How long have we been
There's
talking
no
on
order.
this? How long have we been talking on TikTok?
They've been talking about 40 minutes.
Okay, so there's
44
been
minutes.
order. There's been enough order to allow us to have a conversation for 40 minutes.
Well, in this particular scenario, sure, but
And there's
somewhere
order,
in
and there's
Yemen-
4
hold
seasons.
on.
There's
Yeah,
4
hold on,
seasons,
hold on,
right?
hold on. Somewhere in Yemen, some kid is getting his family blown away.
Doesn't mean
Where's
that
the
there
order
isn't
in that?
order in Yemen. It
Somewhere
doesn't
in
mean that there isn't
Somalia-
order.
Somewhere in Somalia, a child is dying from hunger. Where's the order in that?
Yeah, so I mean, the world can experience chaos, but there is an order to the world.
It's
Because there's 4 seasons, right? There's never 5 seasons, right? That's something that we can all say there's order. The sun is up in the sky every day. That's order. The moon is up in the sky every night. That's order. There's natural order to the world. If you believe in globe Earth, if you believe that the Earth is a globe spinning in space, you then believe that there's order to our solar system.
You're confusing regularity of certain events with God.
No, I'm
Right?
telling
If
you
I-
that
if
there's
I-
order. I'm
besides-
telling you that there's
besides,
order.
Besides, why are we hyper focusing on the Christian God? Like if I say
I wasn't
believe
at that
this is the
time.
universal answer God, and this is my book, and this is some shitty proof that I made up that this God is real, and that God says that patricide is okay. What, can I go kill my father because that God is giving morality?
Well,
You see
you
how-
could. Well, you could, but it's not moral because it didn't come from God.
Well, but why are you talking about your God? For me,
It's not my
God,
God.
right?
It's everybody's God, whether you accept it or not, and that's okay. I mean, you have the right to not accept him. That's fine. Now, I want to clarify my position on other religions. I believe that there's a lot of truth in other religions. I'm not the kind of person that just throws away other religions. I think that there's a lot to learn from other religions. I think that God in some way could have inspired other religions to get to other cultures. I believe that religions are hierarchical. Therefore, there are better religions and there are worse religions. And by better and worse, I simply mean by allowing you to get more aligned with God's order in the world. And I think that Christianity provides you the best roadmap in order to live the way God intended. However, if you're a Buddhist, I don't think that you're going to hell because you don't believe necessarily in a Christian God. I think that you can live a very moral life, and ultimately that's up for God to decide. If you're a Hindu, same thing.
Unfortunately, I'm out of time here because my friends are here.
It's
but
all good.
I followed you, so I hope we can talk another time.
Yeah, man.
It's awesome, actually. It was awesome talking with you because you don't interrupt just nearly as much as other people do. So yeah, thank you for that. And I'm gonna hop off. It was awesome talking with
All right,
you.
man.
See ya.
Likewise. Have a good one. All right. Is asking a question inherently bad? No. All right, now I can focus on the comments for a little bit. Then I gotta get out of here. The idea of God's word being based off older stories. Well, who's to say that history isn't subverted to the point where Christianity has always been the first religion and everybody copied Christianity? And I've already addressed some of that anyway. If you support Biden or Trump, you're the problem. Kinda. Canceling student debt will only worsen inflation and reward the unprudent. No, well, because canceling debt will literally be deflationary in a debt-based economy. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, cool. Sometimes it messes up on here. First, your live is doing something funky where where the picture of you is like bouncing back and forth left to right. I didn't know if you knew that.
Nope.
I don't know, maybe if it's just the internet on my end or if it's you. But also, I want to know why you think that Andrew Tate should be canceled.
Yeah, because I have 4 reasons why I don't think young men should follow Andrew Tate, and I guess those 4 reasons would be.
Well, not to follow.
I know. I was going to say that I think those 4 reasons could also sum up why I think it's okay for him to be canceled.
Okay.
Firstly, he believes money is a savior. It's not a savior. He believes that God is an idea, which means that he can make God whatever he wants since it's his idea. Thirdly, he promotes promiscuity, even if he says that it's okay to have a family and be traditional. But then he says at the same time, hey, I teach a course called Pimping Hose Degree, and everybody should be players before they get married because you need to know women. And that's wrong. Not everybody should be players. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think that makes women weaker and makes men weaker too. And fourth, I would say the reason is that he's subverting Christianity and Islam. He basically uses them as a moral authority, but then he will state that if anybody actually follows these religions and the books to a T, they're going back into the Stone Ages. So he doesn't actually believe in them. He just believes in the ways that they can benefit him and provide a moral superiority to his arguments by using them, but he doesn't actually believe them. So I think that he's a bad influence on young men overall. I think he's leading them down a wrong path.
Okay. I can see your point of view on that. Now, when you say he should be canceled, what do you define that as deplatformed?
Yeah, I don't think.
Or...
Yeah, I'm consistent, man. I don't think anybody that promotes the kind of stuff that he promotes should have a platform in public. So anybody, I'm not pro free speech at all.
Okay. Why is that?
Because there's certain people who should not have the right to talk in public.
On what basis?
Yeah, so very simple. I think that anybody who is a PEDO should have all rights taken away from them as far as speaking. Any SA offender of any kind, not allowed to speak in public. Anybody that promotes pimping, webcamming your girlfriends or anything like that should not have a right to speak because it brings down society. It's not good for society. You don't need those kind of ideas floating around when children will inevitably hear them.
Okay, so I can agree with the first two. Anybody that's, and I'm not trying to get your live.
I got you. Yep, I remember. Yep.
I agree with the first two, but the thing about canceling, okay, people say that, anyone that's going against whatever the current status quo is should be canceled is basically the general idea behind people getting canceled, And just for an example, they say that freedom of speech doesn't exist on these platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and all of that because they're private businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that they have the ability to choose who can and cannot use their service. So the powers that be right now, the status quo right now, is to cancel people that are misogynistic, people that are, racist, stuff like that. And I can agree with this, with the idea that they're wrong for thinking those things and being that way. But I disagree on that they should be canceled.
Well, I have no issue with the racism part. I'm more specifically focused on things that degrade society.
And I understand that, but I'm saying that that's one of the reasons that people do get canceled today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think
So-
that cancel culture, per my last conversation, is dictated by the morality of the people. And right now, the moral compass is broken. There is none. Which is why
I don't think that canceling anyone is good, because something that people don't realize is, for everyone in the comments that's listening that agrees with cancel culture, let's say that somebody gets in power or the status quo becomes something that you don't agree with, and let's just narrow it down to something as simple as equality. Let's say that you say that women are equal to men, which is a statement that I agree with, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree with. In the future, let's say the status quo goes in reverse. It goes back. Society as a whole goes backwards, and that becomes the black sheep type thing to say. Well, the standard that's been put forth by these social media groups that says, "Oh, we can deplatform you because we're a private company," the same thing could be applied to anything that's a private company. So let's say you wake up one day and because you said that women are equal to men, now no cell phone company will allow you to use their phones. You're not allowed to call anyone or use their phone to access the internet. You basically are outcast from society for something that you believe in. And it might work for you now if you do support cancel culture, but as history has shown, society it swings back and forth. You might not be on the winning side in the future for something you strongly believe in. And
I'm
one
currently-
day, if you support this culture and growing and implement this in the government and vote for people that believe into this, you might wake up one day without the ability to live in society because you don't have a phone to be able to go get jobs or to communicate with your family. You have no way to react to anything posted on the internet. And I think that it's a form of fascism to control who can and cannot talk on the internet, because it's a public forum. It's the modern public forum. And I believe in freedom of speech for everybody, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. Do I think that it shouldn't come with consequences? No, I think it should come with consequences. But
So then you don't believe in freedom of speech.
To that end.
So if it has, so that's what I'm arguing for, consequences for what you say. Therefore, we both agree on freedom of speech.
But I think the consequences are too severe. The saying that they can't use TikTok, that they can't use YouTube, can't use.
Do you need them to live?
In the public eye.
Do you need them to live?
I think as a society we do, because of how the
is TikTok going to give you food?
Technology, well, not necessarily TikTok, but how technology is advanced. I think if it continues advancing at the rate it is, there's going to be a point where it's impossible to work, or impossible to be part of society, or impossible to be part of political discourse without having access to social media.
Yeah, that's not true at all. I follow a couple people who are literally banned from everything. One person, Vox Day, is banned from going to Google campuses. They blocked his Blogspot, his blogger.com. He is not allowed on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, any of them. Owen Benjamin also canceled everywhere. And they only keep getting popular, more and more popular. And nobody can find, you can't find Owen Benjamin. You can't find any of his streams on YouTube. You can't find any of Vox Day's streams on YouTube. You can't find it on the internet. You go look them up on the internet. First thing you're going to find is Wikipedia leaks calling them alt-right, white supremacist, Nazis, etc. When all of that is not true. Yet, except for the alt-right, I guess you can consider them alt-right. But anyway, those things have not prevented. I mean, Owen Benjamin, for example, he's not even allowed to rent out properties on Airbnb. Yet, he and his family are making a living just fine. He has a cell phone that he uses. Nick Fuentes has had
applied to social media banning people and apply it to the cell phone companies, because that's also a private
go ahead.
company.
That's yeah. Public. Go ahead. If they want to ban it, fine. But then there's going to be competition.
But tell me that you could be a member of society and get jobs and stuff without any access to cell phones in this day and age.
I used to be a door-to-door salesman. Why don't you just do the old way? Go to the business, see if they're hiring. Go to your local library to use their computer.
But see, the main point that I'm trying to make about the cancellation thing, because you say he should be canceled, I don't think that people should. I think that people with shit ideas and people with stuff that goes against the status quo, stuff that's not right, I think that they should be part of our society. Everyone should have the right to say whatever the dumbest shit that they want to say is, because that's how we advance as a civilization.
Let me ask you
hear
this.
things that we don't agree with, and we formulate our own opinions.
Let me ask
For
you this.
instance, I think it was Plato or Aristotle, one of the two, had the idea that the earth wasn't flat. He had a lot of philosophical ideas that went against the government at the time. And because of his ideals, they offered him the option of he could either drink poison or he could be expelled from society forever, and he chose the poison. And one of the things he was quoted as saying is, "I am the fly that bites the horse." You know, I think that people that have bad ideals are just as important as people that have good ideals, because that's where we find our moral compass.
No.
We create these echo chambers of whatever the status quo is. If the status quo is changed to a future where PEDOs, like you said, are the ones that are the predominant voice online and they silence anyone that disagrees.
They are
with them,
today.
that's a scary future. Well, but it's a scary future where you can't speak out against them because it's against the status quo.
No,
too.
it's
And I
not.
think that
It's not scary. Not at all. I think it's a very weak position to be scared of banning.
I think it's a weak position to having to silence people you don't agree with, because
So
what
let me ask you
happens
this.
when the people
Well, hang on. Let me ask you this.
silence-
Do you have a family? Do you have like a wife, a kid?
I have a girlfriend that's pretty much my wife, but we're not married yet.
Fair enough. So would you let some dude come into your house and start talking to your wife provocatively?
No,
All right. So you're not for free speech.
I am for free speech in public.
But you don't
have the
believe in
power
it
to
in
say
private?
whatever you want.
So you don't believe in freedom of speech in private?
I believe that you have the right to choose who you let on and off your property.
Okay.
That's two different issues being merged together here. The difference.
No, it's not. So my point is this. No, here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm getting at. Everything begins with the family. You do understand that, right? It's a conglomerate of families that make the nation.
Let me enlarge the question you just had. Let's say the same thing happens in public.
Yeah, you wouldn't let him get away with it. You'd be like, dude, she's taking, get away,
I would
stop
say,
talking.
Hey man, I don't appreciate that. Back off. And if he didn't, then we would leave together.
Well, if you really believed in freedom of speech, you'd be like, hit on her all you want, man. You have the freedom to talk to my woman.
No, freedom of speech doesn't mean that you have to give up the ability to disagree with people. It's quite the opposite.
No, what I'm saying is you would go out of your way to prevent people from hitting on your girlfriend, right?
What could you do in public to stop that? You could tell them that
You could
don't
punch
like
him in the
that,
face.
You and your girlfriend could leave. But
You
in public, he has every right to say whatever he wants.
No, he doesn't. I mean, that's a very weak position to have. Nobody has the right. No, you don't have the right. You don't have the right to come up to my daughters and tell them, if you're a creep, how pretty they are. No, you don't. You don't have the right to do that. You don't have the right to come up to my wife. You don't have the right to come up to my wife and tell her how pretty she is and how you would take her on a date. You don't have the right to do that.
You're changing the analogy when you bring in the daughter. But
No, I'm not.
How would you handle it if someone came up and started hitting on your wife?
I would tell them to leave. I would, if they touched her, I would whoop their ass.
And agree, because that's assault. But
Therefore, I do not believe in freedom of speech. I'm being consistent with my logic.
What if they were just talking? They did not
No,
touch her. That
then
was my
he
question.
has to go. He has to go. I eliminate your speech. Shut your mouth. Go.
Okay, and if he doesn't stop, what are you going to do?
Then we can get physical if need be.
So you would assault somebody over speech, and you would
Yes.
go to jail, and he'd be fine.
Yes.
That's a weak point of view.
It's not. It's a weak. No, if somebody told my wife that they wanted to do inappropriate things with her while I was there and made her uncomfortable, it is my obligation as the man, as her husband.
Making it sexual harassment instead of just him saying, "Hey, you're nice. I'd like to take you out on a date."
Then leave. But then if you keep provoking, if you keep like, oh, well, forget your husband, don't listen to him. No,
Okay,
that is grounds.
you're changing it to be sexual harassment.
I'm not.
And I'm just saying if he
I'm
was just
not.
flirting with her, and then he
That's
says,
what I'm
"No, I
saying.
don't
And then he
want to
doesn't stop flirting with my wife after I tell him to stop flirting with my wife, then he got to go. And if he doesn't stop, yeah, that is grounds for an ass kicking. Fact.
And for me, that's a weak point of view because you hear something you disagree with,
Oh
and
my
you can't
God.
control yourself to not physically assault them.
I don't know how long you'll have your girlfriend with that point of view, man. You got to be able to
I will
defend
continue to
something.
have my
You got to be able to
girlfriend
defend
defend
something. You got to have honor.
If someone-
You got to have honor, man. You can't just let people walk. You can't just let people say whatever the hell they want to you or what they want to your family.
It's freedom of speech. You can't assault
I don't
someone
believe
just
in it.
because they say things you don't like.
Yeah, you can. Fact. Now, I think that it should be within reason. I think that it should be within reason. If you're defending your wife's honor, because some dude is nonstop talking to her and he won't listen to you and he won't listen to her, then you're defending your wife's honor. You're defending your girlfriend's honor.
But like I said, the answer to that for me personally is we would leave. Now, if he touches her or says anything sexually explicit, then we're fighting. I agree with you on that. But let's say you believe in a different God than me, okay? And you say, oh, well, my God's right, your God's false. I don't like that. Does that mean I have the right to assault you?
No.
If you call my God a false God, you're belittling one of the biggest parts of my life. Does that give me the right to get in your face and scream at you and stuff?
No, not at all.
You see my point? Just because you hear something you disagree with, you can exit the situation.
Yes.
You don't have to assault someone.
Yes, I agree.
If they're saying something sexual.
I
or
agree.
they're putting their hands on you.
I agree, but there's a point where honor has to come in, man. That's my point, is that there has to be a time where you have to sacrifice, you have to put your honor on the line, man.
That's not honor, that's pride. Because if they didn't say anything sexually explicit and they're not touching you.
All right, well, so we're just going around in circles. We totally disagree on here. That's fine. I don't believe in free speech. You believe in free speech. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
What do you call Trump derangement syndrome? I'm interested in that.
Well, it's on the left and the right. So on the left, everything Trump does is bad. On the right, everything Trump does is good.
I can see that. I would say I line up more to the right. I wouldn't say that I'm conservative. I'd probably fall more into libertarian. But I don't particularly care for him because he campaigned on a lot of big ideas that sounded good and then never followed through with them, like the national concealed carry reciprocity, where it would make a concealed carry permit valid in all 50 states instead of having different standards for concealed carry and not being able to go across borders with that concealed carry. And also with the banning of bump stocks, that was a huge infringement on the Second Amendment, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
He turned a lot of people into felons that didn't deserve it.
He betrayed his people. That was another thing, you know?
No, I think he did good things for the economy. I think he did some good things while in office, but a lot of things that he campaigned on, he completely spun around and either never followed up on them or went the entire opposite way.
How did he do well in the economy when he printed more money than any president ever and he got the country in more debt than any president prior to him?
You're talking about a global pandemic happening in the middle of your presidency. I don't.
He could have handled it a lot better. He caved.
You said what?
He could have handled it a lot better. He didn't have to shut down the world. He didn't have to shut down the U.S.
He could have, but the printing of the money and everything wasn't directly on him. See, the government had said that they weren't going to bail out the big banks if they started to fail. And they put a loophole in the bill that was, I think it was a bill that was passed. You don't quote me on this because I've watched videos on this, but I can't remember exactly what the source was. But basically, they said the government was not going to bail out the big banks if they started to fail. And there was a crash during the pandemic where the government they used this loophole where they bought these it was like stocks or something. They basically, in a backdoor way, bought out the big banks, and that's where a lot of that money printing and a lot of that came in, because they called it a jump start of the economy.
Fair.
To bail out all this, and that was on Congress and Senate. That wasn't on the president necessarily, but I can see where you're coming from on
Fair enough. But I mean, he definitely did contribute to shutting down the economy, which is the reason we're in the predicament we're in right now. It's not Joe Biden's fault. I mean, we're experiencing a bullwhip effect.
While I agree to an extent, I think that Joe Biden shoulders a lot of the blame as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Biden's perfect. I'm not a Biden fan. I did not vote for Biden. I did not vote for Trump in 2020. I voted for Trump in 2016. But then because of his Operation Warp Speed, his locking down, his reaction to the cough and sniffles, I couldn't vote for him again.
See, I didn't vote for either of them either. Biden, I think that Biden's made a lot of big fuck-ups, and one of them was listing off, I don't know if you remember this, but when he first got in office, he was like, oh, here's a list of, our structure of our country that's susceptible to cyber attack and stuff, and these should be off limits, and gave that list to Russia. And then right after that, we saw the hacking event where the East Coast lost gasoline for like a month or something like that. And that was right after Biden listed it as that infrastructure as one of the things susceptible to cyber attacks. I think that he brought that on us, because I live on the East Coast. I think that he brought that on us through, whether it was stupidity or maybe he was testing their hacking capabilities. I don't know what the idea behind that, but going to a quote unquote enemy and saying, hey, this is where we're weak, that's just a terrible idea for a leader. And on top of that, the way he's handling the pandemic is no better than Trump, in my opinion. I think that Trump caused a lot of the backlash that we had with the pandemic, because before the pandemic started, he basically got rid of a whole sector of it was either the CDC, I believe, that controlled infectious diseases during pandemics, like the rapid response team. And that's what led to it spreading the way it did. But at the same time, I think that Biden and the left was really responsible for that as well. Because if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was saying, it's coming from this lab, and everybody's saying, oh, that's right-wing extremism. That needs to be silenced. If you posted it, it was fake news. It came from a wet food market. It didn't come from a lab. And then the further we got along in the pandemic, and granted, nobody has 20/20 foresight. You can't predict things accurately, but they were so into that Trump derangement syndrome that you say, that just because he picked up that idea and said, hey, that's probably what happened, it became this whole cancel culture around that, to where if you said it, you would get banned on social media for saying that. And then come to find out it was true. It was a lab that worked with coronaviruses and other viruses and infectious diseases, and it had been cited for the last 5 years multiple times for having safety infringements when inspected.
Well, definitely is not true. I mean, I can't really get into it. I'll get banned. I have a totally different perspective on the whole thing. I don't think any of it's legit. There's never been
the virus, like where it came from.
Well, there's never been any isolation of any of them. Fact. So there's no evidence that any of them ever are around. It's a very controversial topic. I can't go too much in depth with it.
Well, you seem like a smart person, so I'd like to hear your point of view on where it came from.
I don't think it's not.
I get that controversial, but so is everything else you typed up there. So,
well, I'm saying because this will get me banned. Like that's why I'm like being very cautious of what I say.
How? Because that's the opinion of the left and the right now. Both of them.
I don't think any of it was. There was no V word. There was no V word.
Okay.
You can't.
I see what you're saying.
They're not transfer. I don't think any V word is contagious.
So
there's no evidence for any V word.
You out, but I get where you're coming from. I understand your argument because I've heard it before. But I would like to counter that with my point of view, which is not the same, and would not get you banned if you'd like to hear it.
Well, I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but I'll just leave it as this, and then I want to let somebody else in. Because there's two people that have been waiting very patiently. And and I'm only doing one person at a time. It keeps things easier. V words are not alive. They're dead. V words are a process of detoxification. They are not contagious. They have never been isolated in a lab. Not once. None of the V words.
Okay, so my point of view on it is that I disagree because at the beginning of it, when it first came over here, I got extremely sick from that and had all the symptoms that they were talking about and tested positive. And then recently, not to put too much doom and gloom on your life, but basically for the last, I was kind of the same opinion as you at first until I got it. And until people in my family got it.
It's never been isolated, so nobody knows if anybody got it because it's never been isolated. Fact.
Well, the fact is that I did get very, very sick.
It doesn't mean that you got it.
You said what?
Doesn't mean that you got it because it's never been isolated. That's a fact. So we have no evidence that it's even a reality.
Well, I'll continue with what I was going to say. I hear what you're saying, though. My dad had cancer. And he fought it for 3 years. He had small cell carcinoma, lung cancer. And it was very rough because of the concern that was around that with him having a compromised immune system. It was very difficult to visit him or to arrange to visit him because of the mandates by the state for testing and because of his concerns about it. Now, when he did pass, he tested positive for when they took him in, and basically the night he passed, I was there at the house. I was taking care of him. I had left the job that I was at because of different reasons, but one of the reasons was the concern about that situation. And by not being there, I wouldn't be around anyone that had any kind of sickness, not just that. So I could visit him as often as I wanted because I wanted to spend as much time as I had with him, which is understandable for anyone. Anyone that disagrees with me about doing that can kick rocks because it's my dad, you know. So I was spending time at his house. I was there when his heart and everything started to fail. I gave him CPR until the ambulance got there. And luckily through that situation, I was never trained in CPR, but I was given enough information from the dispatcher on the phone to keep his heart beating long enough to get him to the hospital and get him on life support. And he had in his wishes, if he ever got to that he would want, to be pulled off of that, which is fine. But the point was it gave my entire family enough time to gather there and say their final goodbyes and everything. So we go to leave and they tested him for it. They said he came back positive. They asked who had close contact with him lately. And it was his kids who had been to church and school and all that. And it was me and his wife. So not maybe a week after that, if that, maybe 2, 3, 4 days, me, his wife, we both got horribly sick. Temperatures of 100 and something degrees, delirious, felt like crap. Laying around the house, didn't know where I was at. It was terrible. My girlfriend was taking care of me. And then right after I started to feel better, she got sick. And the same symptoms, the runny nose, the temperature, all of that. I get why there's such a negative backlash against all of this, and I get where you're coming from. But as someone that has experienced it, I believe it is real, and I believe it did happen because I've been through it. And I did test positive, and both of the times. And I know that you disagree with me, and we don't see eye to eye on this. I just wanted you to have my perspective on why I think the way that I do.
Yeah, well, I respect your opinion, man, and it's been a pleasure talking with you. And I'm sorry to hear about your father. I'm sorry to hear about that. That's very sad, but it seems like you're doing well now, and
with the cancer that he had, the life expectancy on that specific cancer is about a year. And he actually made it 3 years. Only 2% of people in the world that get that kind of cancer make it that long. So he was able to get his affairs in order and was able to come to grips with it. And honestly, if you've ever seen somebody go through having cancer and go through radiation and chemo multiple times, by the end of that journey, it's just better that it's over, because then you're not seeing that loved one in pain anymore. And for anyone in the comments that's going through a similar situation, or has lost anybody to that, or is going to lose anybody to that, I want you to know it does get better. This is the third time someone in my family has gone down that way, and it just takes time. Take the pain in strides. Don't bottle it up. Make sure you reach out and talk to somebody, especially people that have had similar experiences, even if it's just for them to listen to you. You're not alone in going through that. It's a very common thing.
There you go.
But I'm going to go ahead and hop out of here and let somebody else jump in. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise. All right. Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Same old.
Right
Living
now.
in the same world as everyone else. I'm trying to get through it just like everyone else.
I hear you. You sound kind of far away.
Let me take these earphones out. Is that any better?
Yep, a lot better.
Cool. So I am a firm believer that cancel culture is horrible for society. I think it's kind of similar to how we responded to the internet from a prior generation that used to go outside, interact with people face to face, and we've started to lose basic functions as humans to be able just to deal with emotions, deal with stress. Where now it's, if you have an opinion that is against someone else that has a larger subset of people that share an opinion that is not the same, you have the opportunity, you're likely to be bullied. And as that continues to go down in society, we are getting closer and closer to like a China type of environment where you can't use basic privileges like using the train or leaving the country because you have a specific opinion. I know you mentioned a couple times about you're in a scenario where like someone would talk to your girlfriend, you get upset, and they don't have the right to do that. I believe actions do have consequences, but those consequences they shouldn't be like being shut down from society, or shut off.
Yeah, so I get that a lot of people believe. I have a lot of feedback. If you can mute your mic while I talk.
Sure.
Thank you. So I get it. A lot of people are against. Hang on, give me a second. It might be on my end. Feedback? No, okay, we're good. All right. So
I'm getting a little feedback.
yeah, it might be on my end. I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, I'll keep going. I just turned down my volume for now. I get it. People don't like cancel culture. But I think that cancel culture is not necessarily bad. Can it become bad? Yes, of course. If you look at cancel culture today, essentially the people who are getting canceled are those that are telling the truth in a lot of ways. But now it's becoming to the point where people who are like Andrew Tate's character are not telling the truth about everything, and they're living a very immoral life. I know that he got kicked out for whatever reason. It's just starting to kick people out. Very weird how it does that. Let me try this. Let me do this. Let me put on my data, see if that helps at all. I don't know. But I don't think cancel culture is bad. I think cancel culture depends on your morality in society. And as the argument I've been making is our moral compass is broken. Therefore, we are typically canceling the wrong people. However, I would not say canceling Andrew Tate is a wrong person to cancel. And I don't see why it's a bad thing to cancel speech anyway. Not everybody deserves the right to speak. I've already made this argument several times on this stream, so I won't repeat myself. If you're talking, I can't hear you.
There we go. That seems to be a lot better now from a connection standpoint. I was struggling before.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me better?
I can.
All right, good. So, I mean, I agree with kind of where we're at now in society. It's not at the point where people are concerned about it being. I'm just saying that this, from where it's going to go from here. I don't know if you would agree that the tech industry and the large majority of the government is pretty left-leaning. They're extremely left-leaning in a lot of areas. And right now, tech companies control a lot of the media, the communication, and that's what's really training a lot of the masses now that don't think independently or are not afraid to think independently for fear of being deplatformed and all that. I mean, even you're concerned in a couple of areas of not speaking about things that are your opinion because of getting deplatformed. And, if this continues to go down that path, I think it's just going to get more and more aggressive to weeding out alternate ideas. And then we become slaves to, everything that we're at, in terms of technology, in terms of communication, in terms of just enjoying life.
Well, it's your choice to become a slave to the system. It's your choice to let them ruin your life. Just because you get banned doesn't mean your life is ruined, doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. You don't need these platforms to exist. For a lot of people, excuse me, my daughter's in the background. She's just woke up from a nap, so she's a little cranky. But I believe that the pendulum is swinging. It kicked him out again. I'm not kicking him out. It's my internet connection. Let me try to bring him back in. All right. So it's probably going to keep kicking you out. I've had this issue yesterday. I don't know why TikTok does this, but so pretty much, you mind going in the room with her maybe? Gotcha. So I'm not really concerned or afraid of being censored. It is what it is. It's not going to ruin your life. And ultimately, I think the pendulum is swinging. The only reason why the social media companies were able to get away with what they're doing is because they found out that all the quote unquote moral Christians or religious leaders or those that are against certain topics won't do anything for being canceled and for, degraded material being pushed out is because they saw their data. They saw that they are watching porn. They saw that they're being hypocrites, essentially, with so many things. And so they're now able to control everything because of everybody's morality not everybody, but once again, the moral compass has been broken. There is none. Therefore, they're dictating what's on social media and not. But if the moral compass was to be rediscovered and followed, well, you would have no issue with the cancel culture. I don't think anybody would, because it would be understandable to cancel PEDOs from speaking, from any SA offender from speaking, from people with, pimping hoe courses like Andrew Tate from speaking. Those kind of things, and also anybody that's going to speak against your God, the God of the Creator, the Christian God, I would say. You should have the right as a nation to not allow that. So I believe that the moral compass is why we're in the predicament we're in. Not that cancel culture is bad. Everybody has cancel culture. There's never not been a time of no cancel culture.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I disagree. Because I don't think we've ever had the...
Censorship has always been around. So if you go back to the day when there were only 2 newspapers, that was effectively censorship. I mean, you had to go through an intense process to maybe get an article written in the newspaper. And if they didn't like you, they could easily choose for you not to be in the newspaper. And you would have to find ways outside of it, just like people in alternative media do, right?
Right, but the scope and the reach of those newspapers at the time
were much
nearly
worse.
as worldwide as the communication and tech companies are now. Like you have all these individual papers that were localized, and that wasn't the main form of communication. There was society, there was neighborhoods.
Yeah, but there was also
there was
censorship
community.
in those things, right? You weren't allowed to say certain things in those societies, or else you'd be excommunicated. You'd be ostracized from saying certain things in those communities. So censorship has always been around. It's never not been around. It's a matter of morality.
So I disagree about the censorship not being around. I think it was just opposition of ideas, and then obviously there's people in power that can outweigh others. Like when you go back to like the witch hunts and people being burned alive because of all that stuff. I mean that was a real thing, but again, like that wasn't as mass spread. Where now, like as society, the majority of people are working from home. You have people order online, people, use credit cards, and people that are being ostracized right now aren't able to use some credit cards. They're not able to use some platforms to purchase. So it makes their life impedingly more difficult. And again, like this isn't just about a snapshot of where we are now. It's where we're going and where these things lead, because things will always get more aggressive. I'm not sure what your belief system is, but I'm a Christian. I think.
Well, if you're a Christian, we should agree. Christianity doesn't believe in freedom of speech.
Yes, it does.
It's against the Christian virtue, 100%. It's the most sinful thing to do is to blaspheme the Holy Ghost.
No, a sin is a sin is a sin across the board, and we're all.
No,
sinners.
it's not. No, it's not, dude.
Yes,
No, it's
yes,
not.
It is.
No,
There's
it's not.
different ramifications in this world in terms of consequence.
No, dude.
from different
So you mean to
sins.
tell
But a sin
me,
is just something that brings you
No.
further away from God.
dude, there are things that bring you way for like somebody who does bad things to children is a lot worse than a thief.
I agree with you in terms of
Sinfully,
the world, not
too.
in terms of the eyes of God.
Yeah, God is
So-
just. God is just. So he'll give just punishment to those commit. And he says that there are worse sins. There are certain sins that deserve prison sentences, but there are some sins that deserve unaliving. Therefore, there are logically, there are worse sins.
In terms of the way that the world and the law views them, yes. But in terms of a
God?
sin from God,
But God's the one that set the standards for punishments. Therefore, if he is telling you the punishments in the real world for different kinds of sin, there's going to be different kinds of punishments in the afterlife for different kinds of sin.
there's only one punishment in the afterlife. It's either yes or no. Like if you're with God when you die, or if you're not. I mean, so like in the terms of like what happens in hell and all that stuff, no one knows that. And a sin is anything that brings you further away from God.
Yes,
So it's
but there
like-
are different sins. There are sins that can bring you way further away from God than others.
And the more times that you do them, yeah, your heart gets hardened and all that stuff.
And I'd say that all it takes, if you do something really, really bad to a child, Jesus even says those people deserve to have a millstone into the ocean.
Yeah, and that's dying on the earth. If
Do you
they're
not
able
do you not
to
understand the logic
ask for
though?
forgiveness and repent in their ways, and that's between them and God in terms of like, well,
Yes, so I do agree with the fact that anybody can be saved, but there is different moral punishments. There's different levels of sin. Not all sin is equal. That to me is illogical. It's illogical with the Bible. And can everybody be saved? Of course. Even Satan himself can be saved. But it doesn't mean that all sin is equal.
yeah. So I think we're getting off topic in terms of like the.
But
What
what I'm
you're saying,
saying is, what I'm saying is that as a Christian, there are certain things that we should not allow for in speaking. We should not allow our family to blaspheme the Holy Spirit. We should not want to let people in society to be able to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, to be able to blaspheme Jesus Christ, to be able to blaspheme the Father. Those are things that are the antithesis of Christianity. Can we debate? But can we debate him?
The ability ability to do that.
Well, here's the
It's up
thing.
to the human to do that. It's not for us to judge other people and what they do and what they don't in their walk with
That's
God.
not what
We
I'm
need to
doing.
focus on
That's
ourselves
not what
and
I'm
our
doing.
family.
That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying that Christianity, though, is anti-free speech because it tells you certain things you say have punishments.
That's
Therefore,
your own free speech of yourself, trying to control that on what you speak and what comes out off of your
yes,
tongue,
and
not
so
anyone
you should
else's.
want your
It's not
nation.
my place to control someone else's tongue.
No, it is because God sets up governments and God wants a monarchy. In the
Yeah,
Bible,
so
it says
governments are
monarchy.
man-made. They're not of God.
They are of God. God established governments.
No, humans establish
No,
governments.
God Romans 13, bro. Romans 13.
Okay, what is it?
Romans 13. The governments aren't bad. The governments are of God. God established the government. God established governments. He gave Cain a city. He said, I'm giving you a city. And then there's a government established in the city.
Yeah, and
It's
respect
by
for
the grace of
governments.
God.
But that's human created.
But it's inspired in by the grace of God.
We're
It's
all
not human
by the grace of
inspired.
God.
No, well, it's not human inspired. It's God inspired. It's a divine idea, governments. It comes from God.
Okay, and so all governments are godly, is what you're saying?
Yes, all government is godly.
All governments are godly. So governments that support.
Can they be evil? Yes, but the institution of governments, all governments, the institution itself, what they are divine by God. Can they be corrupted? Yes, because man has free will. Man can be sinful. Yes. It doesn't mean our bodies are a gift from God. Our bodies are godly, but we can corrupt our bodies. The earth is godly, but we can corrupt the earth. So just because something's godly doesn't mean that you can't corrupt it because you have free will.
Well, we're all corrupted as humans, in my opinion. So
we all can be. Yes. But that's my point. Like, Christianity is not for free speech. It can't be. It 100% can't be. If you're mixed, Jesus think about the Pharisees, man. The Pharisees were doing all abuses to the scripture, doing so many abuses to the scripture. And Jesus said, no, what are you doing? Shut up. Whipping them, chasing them out. You can't teach in here. You can't teach in here. That's anti-free speech.
That's not anti-free speech.
Jesus said you can't teach like that. You're teaching it wrong. Shut up. Get out of the temple. Get out of the temple. That's anti-free speech.
I disagree. I think that was a behavioral thing, and that was a
Speech
teaching
is
of changing the behavior, not shutting someone down to permanently not allow them to work in that manner ever again.
Yes, they shouldn't be able to. If somebody is misusing the Bible, misusing theology, misusing Christianity, they shouldn't be able to teach about Christianity. They shouldn't be able to speak about it at all. That's what Jesus promoted that.
And who are the people that will enforce that policy?
It should be the government, and it should be the people.
So you think that
it should be societal,
embedded in the government?
Yes, I do. That's what God wanted. God wanted church and state because God, the church. The government is a divine thing. Therefore, if the church is godly, why wouldn't God want what He established here on earth, the church, to be working with the government?
I don't understand how you're going from that thought track or that mindset to today, where we have a government in place now, which is doing everything in their power to remove God from every facet of society. They're not.
No, actually, they're just switching the religion. The evil people are very spiritual. The evil people who you're referring to are very spiritual. They're just switching your attention on who you should focus at. It's not that they're taking away God. They're trying to do away with the idea of the Christian God, but they're trying to make you believe in their God, which is Satan.
And so you still want them to be able to dictate?
I want the government. No, you're not listening. I want the government to do well. I don't want the government to be destroyed. I want the government to be here. I want the government to run properly. It's a divine institution. Can the governments become corrupt? Yes. But if you also look throughout the Bible, when somebody comes to a society and they're like the prophets and they're saying, hey, your society is about to fall and be punished by God, do they go to their governments and say, governments, reestablish yourself because you're bad. No, they go to the people. The prophets go to the people and say, work on your sin, repent, change your ways, because you're the reason why society is going to fall, the individual. It's the people that ruin society. It's the morality.
When those prophets get deplatformed, then what happens then? So, I mean, what you're saying...
It doesn't matter. Jesus got deplatformed, and look at Jesus.
Yeah, but we're not Jesus. And
yes, actually, Jesus says that we can do better things than him on this earth.
I mean, listen, so I feel like there's a number of areas that we agree on, I think, conceptually and morally, but there seems to be a disconnect in terms of, I guess, my understanding of where the world is right now and my frustrations with, a lot of the cancel culture, a lot of the existing government. And I understand that there's a lot of spiritual warfare that's happening. There's a lot of, they're trying to get Jesus out of the world for people understanding who he is and having a relationship with him. And now we're all fighting here with each other and not focusing on our eye on the prize, which is making ourselves to grow in the spirit and grow in our relationship with God and to love each other.
Yeah, love good, but hate evil. God commands us to hate evil.
Yeah, but we're still commanded to love other people.
But we're commanded to hate evil. So when people do evil things, you do not love them.
We love the people, we hate the things. And it's for God to judge. It's not for us to judge.
Yeah, well, actually, God and Jesus teach us how to judge. You judge by the fruits. And you can judge as long as you're not being hypocritical. I can't go and judge somebody who eats a bunch of snacks. I'm fat, all right? I'm overweight. I can't go and judge somebody for shoving 3 cheeseburgers in their mouth. That'd be hypocritical. But I could judge somebody and determine whether or not I want to associate with them based on their alcoholism.
100%.
So therefore, we can judge. We judge by the fruits.
That's you making an individual opinion based off of your own morality and all of that stuff.
It's not my own morality. It's not my own morality. It's not.
I used the wrong word. That's your own opinion, your own mindset.
No. That's literally what God teaches us. He says, don't judge your brother for the same thing that you do. He doesn't say that don't judge. He literally says judge by the fruits. What are you producing? What are you doing in your life? Then you can judge somebody's character. You have to judge people's character to determine whether or not you want to associate with them.
And shouldn't that same mentality be afforded to cancel culture, where that's you make your own decision rather than trying to shut them down indefinitely?
Well, I think that when it comes to something like that, well, yes, you can cancel people out of your own life, but I then believe that extends to the government, which should then say, hey, this kind of speech isn't allowed. I think Muslims get it very correct when they're like, you say bad things about Allah, prison. You say the F word, prison. You say you watch porn, prison. They're based. They get it. We should do the same thing here.
I feel like they have a much tighter grip on their
and we should too. We should too. I mean, God teaches us how to govern. God teaches us how to govern in the Old Testament. I'm not trying to sit here and be a purist or anything, but I'm just following with what the Bible is, what Christianity is. And Christianity is anti-free speech and would be doing the same thing as Islam as far as imprisoning people for certain actions that are deemed as free speech, such as corn. Corn, the only reason it's legal is because they said it was free speech, protected under the First Amendment. I think that should be illegal. I think that's
because of the money that's created from it.
Well, no, I mean, that was their argument. Literally, that was their argument to make it legal, was it's free speech. So if that's free speech, that should be banned. That should be illegal. Anybody making corn should go to jail.
Yeah, so I disagree. I feel that people should be able to do whatever they want to do. God gave us free will for a reason. If he didn't want that, then he wouldn't have given us free will if he wanted us just to...
How do you have any order with that mindset? How do you have any order? How do you have people being good?
Through the Holy Spirit, through the Ten Commandments, and through actions have consequences, where if I go and, start hitting on a girl and they have a boyfriend and I keep doing it, then I get my ass kicked. It's like there's actions to consequences.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you want society to be following God?
I do want that, but it's not my
So
place
then
to force that upon other people.
well,
Because
it
that's
is.
their
Are
own
you a
individual
father?
journey and their own relationship.
Do you
And
have?
I'm not perfect.
Are you a father?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I'm a father, right? So therefore, I am commanded to order people.
Right, but you're not the father of me, so you're not commanded to order me.
No, but
I
what
agree
should
with
be
your children.
done?
You have the right and the divine focus of raising your children in the likeness of Jesus and the likeness of you, and that and can control that because you want to protect them. But you don't go outside of that with those controls.
Yes, but society, so the reason why church and state should be joined is because the church will handle the social part, the morality, what's accepted on a moral level for society. Because there's this thing, I believe, called the social contract. There are certain things that you will and won't do because society deems them acceptable or unacceptable. And I think that that's a good thing. And I think that that's where the church's role is. That's where religion's role is, the society.
So, do you not believe that the devil is the Lord of this world?
That's what it says. He's the prince of the world. Yeah.
Okay, so if he's here doing everything in his power to lead us away from God and basically make us think that he doesn't exist, that the devil doesn't exist, and that there is no Jesus, and to be deceptive at every turn to hinder us in our individual growth and our individual relationships, you want to empower that his ability to have these corrupted governments and corrupt things to dictate to us what we can and can't do. Because that's what's happening now.
No, that's not what I want. What I'm saying is the opposite should be true, where the godly people are canceling the satanic people.
But did you know when that happens? Is when we all die and we're with Jesus. Right? But we're not there yet.
No, I think that you can establish fractals of heaven on earth. I think that that's also what's taught in the Bible. Jesus says, don't look over there when somebody says that he's going to return. Don't listen to them when they say that he's returning from the clouds, because the kingdom of heaven is within.
Right, and that's within us individually. For you, you're striving for this utopia, which I think is a beautiful concept, but it's not a reality.
No, I'm not striving for a utopia. I'm striving for optimization of society while we're here on earth. And I think that the reason why the heaven inside is applicable is because your inner world makes your external world. So if you're living a heavenly life, your world will reflect heaven in a way, a fractal of heaven. Not heaven itself, but close to heaven, close with God. Therefore, if you have a society that is more godly than ungodly, your society will be much more orderly. You will have less depravity. You won't be having GAY marriages. You won't be having all these degraded, sinful behaviors accepted in society.
So I agree in concept that would happen, but I don't.
And it did.
In execution,
it does all the time. It does all the time. It does all. The Muslims do it, man. The Muslims do it, and they don't believe Jesus is coming back.
But they don't do it. They say they do it on paper, but that's
do.
not how they actually roll.
That is how they roll. The majority of them, yes, that is how they roll.
That's not how they
their
roll,
societies don't allow that.
They're still imprisonment, and they're still that's not the world that the world that you want comes in heaven, and that's when we're going to get it.
No,
Until
the
then,
world that
we
I
gotta get
want
through this muck to get there.
No, so I don't think you're understanding me, because I get that there's a difference between heaven and earth. Obviously, what I'm saying is God has taught us how to optimize society, and we should try to optimize it while we're here.
I 100% agree with that. I don't disagree with anything that you just said in that statement there. But when you look at the reality of what's happening, so let's look at the United States. When this country was formed, it was based off of godly principles, and we prospered so much. And I think we're the first country to have the amount of indoctrination of Christianity and Jesus in every day. It's on our bills. It was in our schools at an early age. But we look at where we're at now. In my opinion, we're so worse off than Sodom and Gomorrah, because they didn't have the luxuries that we have in terms of knowing Jesus. Like, everyone in the United States has heard of Jesus. That wasn't the case then. They were so depraved, and now we know better, but we are so much further off because we've purposely turned away from God, and we're striving for all of these evil, self-serving things And you can't go from that where we are now to and I'm sorry to use the word utopia again, but it's the only word that I can kind of make sense of what you're saying, which I agree. It would be a beautiful place to live.
I'm not talking about
But it's not
utopia,
reality.
man. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about because there will still be crimes. That's why I'm saying there needs to be punishment. I believe that capital punishment should be much more liberal. I believe that it should be. I believe
I
that.
agree with that with a lot of laws that are in effect. But again, like how do you change that?
The moral compass, which is why the prophets say to the individuals, repent, not to the governments, not to any of that, because the people's morality, which is what I've been saying, the people's inner world, a collective's inner world, is their external manifestation of what they're seeing in the real world. So America is very fallen, is very broken because everybody's inner world is hell. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven is inside. Therefore, you could conclude that the kingdom of hell can also be inside of you. So, if that's the case, there's a lot of people living in hell in the world, especially in the United States.
So let's think about this. If you're on your path with God, or you're on your journey right now, and let's say that as of right now, you're a murderer, you're a rapist, and you've done horrible things. Do you think that you can turn your life around and be saved?
I've already said this at the beginning. Yes.
Okay, so, but what you're wanting to do is to create a snapshot of right now, and anyone that hasn't grown in their journey to not have the chance to know God and come to God, like
that's not what I'm saying at all.
Peter was a murderer, and if God created this environment that you have, he would have been killed before he had the opportunity.
No, he wouldn't actually, because he didn't, and that's not even what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it should be implemented today. This is something, if you listen to more of my streams, I say that this is something that would take hundreds of years to be established. I think that you should have multiple generations of extreme mercy for those degenerate individuals, to teach them that what they're doing is wrong. And then after, say, 3-4 generations, they should all be deprogrammed from their satanic teachings. And at which point, enforce really, really major laws, like the Bible says.
Like you want to be God from that.
It's not, dude. It's not. No, it's not.
That's what God's doing with us.
No.
He created us, and there was Adam and Eve. We sinned, and now we're on this journey to be redeemed.
No, dude. This is standard.
We just
this
have
is
other hurdles and obstacles.
No, man. No, not at all. I don't want to be God. I know that I'm not God. I know that I'm sinful. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that God has given me much mercy in my life. There's a lot of things that I do wrong. I believe in mercy. I believe in forgiveness. Obviously, what I am saying is, everybody that's saying that I want to be like God obviously has no clue what social engineering is. Social engineering is very, very, it could be very good as well. Your society, you social engineer your family, guys. As a father, you program your wife, you program your kids to believe certain things, to say certain things, to act certain ways, to represent your morals, to represent your family as a whole. And then you extend that out to the nation, because nations are just a combination of families. That's all.
You don't extend it out to the nations. You extend it out to yourself and your own bubble, and people see the light that's within you.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Improve their own journey.
That's exactly it.
What God has divined us to do.
Exactly.
Not to create these engineering contracts in place to be corrupted, and then to persecute people that have a different opinion.
So you don't think that the GAYs should, you think that they should be married?
What I think is I am a sinner, and that my sin is no.
So you're a weak Christian. You're a weak Christian then. You can't even stand up against them. And God,
it's not my place to stand up against them.
It is. It literally is. God says, hate evil. Hate evil.
Yeah, it doesn't say hate people.
It says hate evil behaviors.
We're all sinners.
Yes, so that means you should not support. Okay.
So we should just hate each other?
No, that's not at all what I'm saying. If people do evil things, you have the right to hate them. It's not a bad thing to do that.
So God says hate your neighbor?
No. He says love your neighbor. You're twisting my words.
So are
hate,
GAYs
evil.
Neighbor?
No, I don't think that I have any by me. Thankfully.
Okay. So I understand you're joking.
No, I'm not actually. Thankfully, none of them are by me. I don't
So
want to
you
live
think
by
it's
them.
literal, only love your neighbor, so the house to the left, the house to the right, maybe across the street.
Yeah, I wouldn't love them. No, I mean, I would pray for them to not be that way, because they're damning themselves. I'm not saying they're going to hell, but they're not living godly, and I wouldn't want my kids around them.
And that's, you're right, but you're still not loving your neighbor by doing that.
I don't have to love them.
Okay, I disagree because God says that we do.
No, God said. I mean, God destroyed a whole village of people that were like that. Literally, He killed them.
But we're not God, so we're not supposed to.
But we're
destroy
supposed to
villages.
be godly. We're supposed to walk as closely with God as we can. Does that mean that I have to? Now, if I know people that are that way, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go out there and be violent to them or curse them out. I can have a very joyful conversation with them. But I don't approve of their lifestyle. I will never bring them around my children.
You want to have?
I'm sorry?
How joyful of a conversation would you like to have?
What do you mean?
You said that you don't love them; that should be destroyed. So
Yeah, I don't think that no. So this goes back to my point that multiple generations of deprogramming of all the degenerate behavior. That's what needs to be done. Extreme mercy. Extreme mercy.
what you're saying is not extreme mercy.
It is. I'm saying
You're saying
multiple
it's extreme
generations
violence.
of saying, hey guys, you're living the wrong way. This should not be acceptable at all. This shouldn't be. And I get it. Like, you've been brainwashed by the public to think this for so long. Satan has taught you horrible things. I get it. But there should be multiple generations of deprogramming and extreme mercy. That means no prison. That means no capital punishment. That means none of that. But that does mean to have social standards to say like, no, that's not acceptable.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you should have multiple generations to say that's not acceptable. Stop that behavior. We got to stop it. But extreme mercy doesn't mean any of the things I'm saying right now will be implemented next year. I'm saying like maybe, hopefully, my great-great-grandchildren can live back in a time how our ancestors used to.
And so, how do you think that we're on that path now?
I do, actually. I do.
Yeah, I don't share your optimistic view on the world's culture as a whole. I feel that a lot of what you're saying is taking place right now, but only against Christianity. And we are systematically removing Jesus and love and freedom away from people to have a much tighter control over us, and shifting the focus to a sinful life and death. And I think if we continue down this path, God will save us, and God's our only safety in this, knowing that He will come down someday, and if it doesn't come in our lifetime, if we make the decision to love Him and have a relationship with Him and accept Him as our Lord and Savior, then we will individually be saved, and all we can do is try to live the best life that we can for ourselves and treat our family and well and our neighbors well, and be a light in the world for other people to emulate when they get the opportunity to do so because of their own individual journey.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, we talk around in circles a lot. There's a pretty big disconnect, I think, somewhere, but there also seems to be we seem to share a lot of the same beliefs. I'm just not quite sure where the line is, because it moves a little bit when you're talking in terms of...
No, I'm very consistent.
I don't see it. You seem to believe that you are, and I'm not here to change your view. I just wanted to share mine, and I appreciate the conversation that we had.
Yeah, likewise, man. Have a great day.
You too, buddy.
All right. I don't know that I'm going to get to everybody in here. There's a lot of people. Hey, what's going on? Give me 1 second.
No problem.
I have to get a charger for my laptop. It's about to die. All right. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
So my thing was like the whole paying for student loan debt.
Okay.
I do not think that we should be paying
Why?
student loan debt.
Why?
Because just for example, I don't think that it's fair for starters. Someone like me who grew up extremely poor, I grew up in a single parent home. We literally lived in a trailer where we had holes in the floor and froze in the wintertime. And so because of that, I couldn't afford college. So I didn't get to go to college because I literally could not pay for it. So I got certifications. I busted my ass. I worked my way up through my jobs. And, now I'm being told that I get to pay for loan debt for people who make twice as much as I do and benefited from a system that I never even got to participate in because I literally couldn't afford it. So in my mind, that's not fair. That's complete bullshit. Not only that, half these people don't even have a degree to show for the loan debt that they have. They didn't even finish.
Yeah.
So how the fuck does that make any sense? And then you're just continuing to make it worse because you're just going to tell the colleges that they can just ratchet up the prices continuously because the government's just going to step in and keep taking care of their problem.
Well, let's stop right there because you bring up a lot of points. So, firstly, the only reason colleges have gone up in tuition is because the government started using your tax dollars to give out loans. Fact.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and they've made it to where basically they approve every single loan
exactly
that somebody asked for.
Exactly.
Right?
So the reason colleges are going up in tuition is because governments are paying them whatever they want. It's not because governments are going to screw them over. It's actually because they're helping them. All right. Now, secondly, the only reason you gave me is because it's not fair. So is life fair? Is there anything fair in life?
No, but you're not owed somebody else's labor. You're not
so
owed.
Who's paying for the debt?
So I get to work my ass off.
So let me ask you
for
this.
Someone's loan.
Yeah, I get it. You're making the same point again.
Absolutely no sense.
I get it.
Now, if they wanted to really do something decent, maybe people would be on board with like canceling medical debt, okay? Because homeboy over here got cancer. That's not his fault.
But hang on.
Or somebody was in a severe car accident.
Hang on. Stop right there.
That's not their fault.
Stop right there.
But an 18 or a 20-year-old who sits down at a desk and signs the dotted line for a loan, they made a conscious choice.
No, so all right. So here's the thing. You're being inconsistent. People with medical debt, yes. No, hang on. You pay into Medicare. Hang on. You pay into Medicare every year. People who go to the doctor because they don't need to really go to the doctor and rack up debt, medical debt, because of whatever reason, because of poor health, that's their decision. Most people go to the doctor because of poor health. And the poor health is usually their decision because they have poor diets, they have poor lifestyles. And so it's their decision to acquire the medical debt. They could have a better life. So if your argument is that it's unfair for me to have to pay for some fat ass who had a heart attack because he ate too many Twinkies. His medical debt.
But the difference is that most Americans agree that we should have some social safety nets in this country when it comes to health care.
No, what's your argument against school debt, though?
Literally dying on the side of the road because they can't get insulin or whatever the hell. It's different when you sit down and sign a piece of paper agreeing to a loan. You don't agree necessarily to have healthcare problems.
Why do you think it's okay?
Do not agree to that.
Why do you think? Yeah, they do actually.
Insurances do make people pay more if they're overweight or smoke or whatever. You do have to pay more for your premiums.
Well,
so
it's your choice though, right? It's your choice. Like your lifestyle led you more than likely to having increased medical bills, right? So that's unfair that somebody. Well, hang on. I'm using your logic. Hang on. I'm using your logic. I'm using your logic though. I'm using your logic because there are healthy people in the world. They then have to pay for the unhealthy people's debts because they didn't do well with their health. They didn't eat right.
Again, healthcare is a completely different scenario than sitting down and consciously making a decision to take out a loan that you know you will never be able to pay back or have no intentions of
Yeah,
paying
it's
back.
predatory, isn't
This is
it?
why
It's very
when I don't pay
predatory.
if I don't pay for my car payment, the bank can come and repo it and take my fucking car back.
But you know
The
what you
difference
can
is
do with your
you
bank?
can't take back a college degree. That's the difference.
But you know what you can do though on your car? You can file bankruptcy and have your debts cleared.
They're still gonna come take the fucking car.
But you can have your debts cleared.
That's not how it works. That still
That
follows you
is
for the
actually
rest
your
of your
debt.
life and has significant impact on you.
But
Yes,
your
it does.
debts can be cleared.
My parents growing up filed bankruptcy.
And your debt
my
is cleared.
Parents, and that did not work well for them. They had a very fucked up financial situation for a very long time. So it's not like you can just say, "Oh, just file bankruptcy." Like
That's not my
filing
point.
Bankruptcy still has significant
I know.
consequences.
But why is it that you are able to file bankruptcy on every other debt aside from student loan?
I'm not saying that they shouldn't do something about the loan problem, but you need to go after the predatory loan.
Yes, and so you know how you
not
do
the
that?
Average paying tax American.
You're
That's
not- do you-
bullshit.
hang
We are
on.
all gonna be-
You don't even
they're
understand how
estimating
it's going to
to
work.
cost us $2,000 a piece.
It's not actually. That's a lie. So, because do you know how our economy
That's
works?
just an estimate.
Well, hang
And
on. This is how our economy works. All right. Our
Let me
economy,
ask you, do you
hang
have
on.
student loans?
I don't actually. I have none. Zero. So it wouldn't help me at all.
How many, or did you not have any?
I did. They're all paid off. And I'm all for people. Let me just let you know my position really quick. I think all debt should be forgiven after 7 years. Every kind of debt. I'm all for a jubilee every 7 years. If you're a religious payer on your debts for 7 years, paid off. And let me tell you something really incredible about canceling debt in our current economy. So do you know how money's made in our economy? You need debt in order to make money. They need to make more debt in order to print more money. Therefore, if you cancel debt in a credit debt-based economy, you are making it deflationary, meaning your dollars become more powerful via debt cancellation because then they can't make as much money.
Sure, but that's still going to get transferred to the taxpayer.
How?
Because it doesn't just disappear.
How? I just told you that it does because you disappear the debt.
Expecting payment. They're already starting to sue the government over this. Well, if it even works, because Biden technically can't even. They're not even sure that he can actually take away the debt.
Yeah, he should make
They
the
don't know that that's
universities.
even in the range of his powers to do as president. First of all, so there has to be clarification on that. Second of all, these debt loan companies are already starting to issue, like they're already suing the government because they're expecting payment that they're now not going to get when they've already paid out on these loans that are supposed to be paid back.
Good. They should go
So-
down because usury is totally bad. Any debt that has interest on it, I think is a weapon of war.
Well, absolutely, and I'm saying.
So
the
why-
interest
so
on them
why are you
obviously
against-
very high.
so-
I'm not saying that they're not predatory. They are predatory.
So do you
And
think,
I
hang on,
that
let me
that
ask you
needs
this.
to be
Stop
changed.
right there.
They need to put regulations on how much like interest and stuff they can do. They need to cap that shit out. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it shouldn't be transferred to the taxpayer.
How is it going to be
That's not
transferred to
okay.
you? I just told you
Because
logically.
we're going to have to pay for it, dude.
How?
It doesn't just disappear.
How?
That's not
Explain
how
it to me.
this works. That's not
Explain
how money
it.
works. This is economy 101.
No, you obviously don't even know the economy because you don't understand that money's made out of debt. Therefore, if you cancel debt, you lower the money supply, which is then what? Deflation, which is good for your dollar. That means what you make more increases. It's the opposite of inflation. Inflation means that your money is devalued. Deflation means that your money increases in value. So if debt forgiveness causes deflation, your money is becoming more valuable. That is literally how it works. Because our money is made from debt. So explain to me how we'll be paying for it.
It's not supposed to be, but
But it is. So explain
it's
to me
supposed
how
to be
you'll be
that.
paying. It's not though. So who cares about that? Nobody cares because that's not the reality. We're living in reality. It doesn't work that way. There's no more gold standard. It's all debt backed.
yeah, which is a collapsing system.
It
and
is.
Shit like this is just going to make it worse.
No,
But
actually it'll
that's
help
okay.
it because then people will be able to have more income. They won't be wasting their money on predatory loans. because their boomer parents were programmed into teaching them they should go to school, because
No,
the
they're still gonna
society.
be wasting money on predatory loans because they're not changing anything with the loan companies. They're not going after the predatory loan companies, and they're not going after the colleges to reduce their tuition. All of this stuff is just going to continue to keep happening because they're not targeting the right fucking shit.
They are.
No, they're not.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So
Colleges
so
are
if they
just gonna
first
keep
so they
raising
first
their
start
tuition
off by
because the
saying,
government's just going to step in and bail them out.
yeah, as they should. I think that they should bail out every student. I think everybody should have debt forgiveness after 7 years. I think that predatory loan should be illegal. But the way that you started off with is to basically go, all right, forgive the debts. And I think that if they're going to have, somebody pay back these companies, they should have the universities that are preying on these students through their endowments start paying them back that way.
Oh, I agree. We've got Harvard is sitting on like $30 million or something like that. I mean, all of these colleges have crazy endowments. They don't pay taxes.
Yeah, exactly. So
It's
make the
ridiculous,
universities
but-
pay for all the student loans that they were so predatory on the people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that student debt, I think that all loan forgiveness is a good thing for society. If you have a mortgage and you've been religiously paying on it for 7 years, you've already paid so much in interest. Why do you have to keep paying for it for another 30 years? That's slavery
No,
to
and
me.
I would agree that I think all the regulation around all of that stuff needs to be changed. I think we would agree on that. However, I don't think that it's going to continue. It's not going to stop the American people from continuing to be financially, ignorant and financially, irresponsible. People are just going to continue to sit down and sign the dotted line
Maybe.
because now it's just going to be taken care of. And
Maybe.
that's not a maybe. That's
It is a maybe.
absolutely.
It is a maybe, because it's going to be much harder to get a loan.
Not unless they change the regulations, because
They're
I said,
changing
right now,
interest
the colleges
rates.
are pretty much guaranteed.
It has
that
nothing
they'll
to-
take up anybody.
It has nothing to do with the regulations. It has everything to do with the interest loans and how the banks are going to determine who they give money to. So if you make it harder to get a loan because you have a debt forgiveness plan, it will then cause people to be smarter with their money, because they won't be
Let's
able to
hope.
just to go get a loan, because not everybody can get a loan. The reason why we're in the problem we're in is because you can give an 18-year-old hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to go to a school that has no ROI whatsoever. So why should you
Yeah.
allow that? You shouldn't allow that. And
Yeah,
also, we should
I
be more
think that we would
selective,
agree on that.
and you should be selective on who goes to college. Not everybody deserves to go to college. Not everybody needs to go to college. Not everybody is
I
capable of
agree.
college. So
I actually
everybody,
hope that my children don't go to college.
yeah. So everybody that's caught up in this predatory system because they've been brainwashed by their parents, by their grandparents. I won't even go into that, but there are still people who want their children to go to college even after they're learning all the disgusting things they're teaching there, how they're destroying society, and yet they still go there. A lot of times because they're coerced by their parents, because their parents are paying for everything and you have to go. And so now they're not even paying for everything. Actually, they're helping them. And then they still get loans. And so I don't think that this should be something that we should. And why do we forgive? We forgive foreign nations their debts. Literally, the United States forgives foreign nations their debts. The IMF also does debt forgiveness. So we can bail out foreign nations. We can give billions and millions of dollars to foreign nations. We can also do PPL forgiveness loans, but we can't forgive the loans from the students because it's going to hurt your feelings because you had to pay back your debt. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't hurt my feelings.
I'm not saying
I
you.
I still don't see how it's not going to get transferred to.
Explain
taxpayers,
it. Explain
but-
it, because I've explained to you how it won't and how it would benefit you actually. So can you explain the reverse?
Like I said, I don't think that we're going to agree on this, but
But can you explain it? So I'm saying that we live in a debt-based economy. If you erase debt, you can't print as much money. Therefore, deflation takes place.
They are still continuing to print money, though. They're
But they
giving
need
money
debt.
to
I know,
Ukraine
but they
hand
need
over
debt.
fist
I
every
know, but
other
they need
week.
debt. So give me your argument. My argument is this. It will be a deflationary event because the wiping of debt means that you reduce the money supply. Therefore, it's deflation. So you tell me how you're going to have to pay for it if we forgive the student loan debt. Tell me.
But I mean, everything that I'm reading is saying the opposite. They're
Explain
saying
it, though.
that by taking the debt, it's actually going to put more money back into the economy. More people will start spending money then because they're now not paying on these loans every month. And that's actually going to increase inflation because you're putting more money back into circulation. So,
But hang on. But then you have to count on people spending money, right? What if nobody spends money?
dude, if you're not paying thousands of dollars a month on these loans or however much these people normally pay every month, yes, they're going to be spending that on other things.
Maybe. And also, once again, the money supply overall will be dwindled. You cannot print as much money. So there will be it'll be a weird time, right? Because more people will have more money and their dollars will be stronger because you can't print as much more money because you have debt being canceled. So if debt's being canceled, but then people are getting more money in their pocket, that it's not going to do what they're saying it's going to do. It would actually have a deflationary effect over the long term.
Okay, well, I don't know. Like I said, there's some aspects of this that we agree on, and there's some aspects of it that we don't. But I'm going to jump off here. I got to do some stuff for work, but
Fair enough.
I appreciate the conversation.
Yep, likewise. Have a good one. All right, I can only do one more person, and then I got to go. And this one's not going to be very long. Hey, how's it going?
I'm live.
You are live. What's going on, man?
So honestly, like this whole debt canceling thing just really annoys me because, I mean, I'm literally in here working right now in the office without any college degree. I'm making it on my own with zero college. I'm educating. I do software developing, by the way, and I'm completely self-taught. And I'm out there networking with businesses, growing a client list, all on my own. No help at all, no free money. And it's really frustrating for me because I decided to not go the college route and go into debt because I knew I could go and make it happen on my own. So like, where's my money, you know?
Why do you need the money?
Where's my free education money?
Why do you need it?
All myself, all on my own time. Where's my money?
Yeah, well, you didn't go through the universities. You didn't get federal loans, did you?
It's so I have to pay for somebody else's education.
How are you paying for it?
So I pay for all my own education.
Well, you already paid. Well, first off, you do pay for their education to go to college. You do know that, right? They take out your tax dollars and give them loans, predatory loans, to go to college.
And that's not okay.
All right. So then, and then let me add this. Let me add this to it. So they take out your money from your taxes, give them loans. They get interest on those loans. The government, and lenders as well. Do you see any of that interest that they make?
The interest rates?
No. Do you see any of the interest that they make from those loans?
No.
No. So they're just taking your money, giving people free education, not even free education, but to get in predatory loans, and they're making money off of it, and you're not, but they're doing it because of your tax dollars on these federal loans.
Right. And the problem with the interest rates and the profiting that's happening is a separate problem from people simply being in debt. We shouldn't be giving people free money and bailing out the institutions because that's who's being bailed out here. It's the people on the school boards of the institutions. And who's on those school boards? The people in the U.S. Department of Education and the people in the Biden administration. That's not okay.
So how would you reset the system then if you don't think that the predatory loans are good and you think that people that are in immense debt, and you think that they were preyed upon, what do you think should happen?
You can't just reset the system. You can't just cancel debt. The debt is transferred. The debt still exists.
Where's it transferred to?
Pay that debt.
Where's it transferred to?
The federal government and if it's transferred to the federal government, the taxpayers.
Well, you do know debt cancellation, as I've already stated before, would be eliminating money supply, would be eliminating
No,
the.
you can't just delete debt. You can remove money out of the money circulation and delete money, but somebody has to be paid.
Yeah, so if you're canceling the debts, you are then reducing the amount of money that can be printed because money needs debt. In our current system, we have a debt-based economy. The more debt, the more money. The more debt, the more money. So if you're eliminating,
that's not okay.
It isn't.
That's bad economics.
I agree.
Keynesian economics does not work in
I'm with you.
90% of the time.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I'm not a Keynesian economics guy. I'm not at all.
Okay.
Not one bit. But that's the system we live in. So it does us no good to sit here and say, "Oh, well, that's bad, right? Well, that shouldn't be the way it is." Well, it is. So we have to live it.
That's the thing. Like I don't think that justifies. Like you can't justify a wrong with a wrong.
So it's not a wrong. It's not a wrong. It's actually, I think, a very moral thing to do. I am for debt forgiveness for everybody after 7 years.
I mean, I totally disagree. So basically, like if I buy a mortgage a house for 30 years, I don't have to pay anything else after 7 years.
I think that you should be able to be forgiven that debt, yes, because you've been paying it for 7 years.
I completely disagree. You know, and like that's the thing about like you proving a wrong with a wrong.
It's not wrong. I think that it's a right.
Of, like the whole press briefing yesterday when they announced this, their prepared response for wouldn't this be unfair to people who have already paid off their college or decided to not go to college because it was too expensive or won't be going to college till next year? Their response was, well, what about all the businesses that got bailouts?
Yeah, that was a weak
That's not
response.
fair. Yes, I agree. It's not fair. It's not fair either that we bailed out the banks. That's not okay. But you're justifying a wrong with a wrong. That is not okay.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's not what I'm doing.
Right. Well, you kind of bled into that argument earlier.
No,
like how life isn't fair. Like, yeah, life isn't fair. That doesn't mean that you can justify that life being fair.
I think it makes life more fair.
Unfair things with just because of that.
I think society would improve greatly if we eliminated all the predatory debt there is.
But who's going to benefit?
Well, it would actually be kind of us because once again, it'll trigger a deflationary event, which would mean our money becomes more valuable because they can't print more money. I don't think people understand this. I don't think people understand this. Like you literally need the United States government requires debt. It requires the accumulation of debt to print money. It needs it.
The U.S. government operated without building debt and spending debt for many, many decades.
But that's not the case anymore. So forget about that because we're living in the now. The now says our economy is based on debt-based economies, debt-based economics. Print money through debt, print money through debt, print money through debt. You have no more debt. You eliminate debt. You then eliminate the amount of money that can be printed. You can then eliminate the money supply. If you eliminate the money supply...
The only time debt spending in Keynesian economics is good is when the economy really needs stimulation. The economy does not need stimulation.
Well, this has nothing to do. Nobody's saying it's good. Nobody's making the argument that it's good. I'm not making that argument. I think that it leads to failures in societies. Look at our government. That it leads to a debt-based economy. But I'm saying the way that you would have a revival of the economy, a reset of the economy, is to get rid of all the debt. And then you have a reset.
I don't think that you can't just reset the economy without having a total system collapse. You can't do that.
Yeah, so you're building a parallel system. I mean, yes, you're going to have
If we just reset debt, then like what's the value of our money then at that point? The entire dollar would collapse.
Yeah, because it's backed by the dollar. So I mean, because it's backed by nothing. It's backed by debt. So I get that. So then logically what you would have to do is if you're preparing for said reset, you would have another economic system in place, right? To replace it.
I think that our economic system is great despite the failure to properly regulate we have a mixed economy, a mixed capitalist society, and regulation is perfectly okay. We should be regulating, but we shouldn't be just moving money from one person to another willy-nilly out of the hands of the government. That's not okay. And if we really want to address the problem of the expensive and predatory costs, there are ways to do that without having to put that burden on the rest of the taxpayers. We can fix the problem of having to pay too much for tuition and the problem of creditors charging too much for their fees and their interest rates. And further, that kind of bleeds into the healthcare situation. It costs a lot of money for drugs compared to Mexico and other countries because they don't charge additional dollars that they know that the government's going to give them. This is why socialism and communism does not work.
Nobody's defending socialism or communism at all.
I know. I'm just making a statement because my first response was when this was announced as it's going, and they said that this is going to happen. My first response was, okay, where can I sign up to get this Pell Grant so that I can qualify for this? That was my first response because if I can get free money, I want that free money. Because I'm a capitalist, we're all inherently going to find ways to benefit ourselves through capitalism.
So you want a handout, just like the socialists, which you're demonizing.
Yeah, I completely disagree with allowing it to happen, but this is just how it is. Like, you got to participate in the system in order to come out ahead.
How does this affect you whatsoever?
Well, it affects me because I'm here. I am, working for,
So besides your feelings, how does it affect you in your practical life, in your everyday life?
Practical life.
Besides your feelings,
it affects me in my practical life because it's not, and this isn't a feeling. It affects me in my practical life because I didn't get that opportunity. I'm not being given money for making it on my own.
That doesn't affect your practical life because that wasn't you. You didn't choose that. Hang on. No, you didn't choose that path.
It makes it easier for other people that were financially irresponsible to come and be competitive with my job and my career.
So you think
they can take those jobs that I would have otherwise gotten because they got a
But you got the
handout,
job, didn't you?
and I had to compete with that.
But hang on, you have the job right now, don't you?
I work for myself.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. I'm a business owner as well, so it's always good to speak with a fellow business owner. Now, how does this actually affect your everyday life once again? Every day, like if your life, let's say all the debts cancel tomorrow, how's that going to affect your life? Not feelings, because what you're talking about is it's just not fair. That's literally what you're saying. I can summarize it to that. Because you're saying basically they got free money. I didn't get free money. They then get the same opportunities as me, but they get it for free. But how does it affect your life practically? Because that hasn't happened, right? So how does that actually affect your life tomorrow? If it were to happen,
So tomorrow,
what would change?
Practically, what it would affect is costs of doing business and inflation in general. That would have a direct practical impact, as well as the potential for making it more competitive than it should be.
But you're a capitalist.
And the thing about people getting their debt forgiven is that most Americans will just go and spend more money and go into other forms of debt. They will just go open up a credit card because they got a nice credit card. And when you go to a store, they'll ask, "Hey, would you like to open up a credit card?" Well, sure. I have the flexible income, so why not open up a credit card? And that opens up a whole bucket of worms for them. All it's doing is just shifting more debt, the irresponsible debt of going to college, regardless of how they got convinced to go to college. Fixing how people are convinced to go to college and moving from a primary school system where they say go to college to go to a career. I think that we should be motivating people to go into careers and go to career centers more.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But that's a different thing. The problem is that it's still moving irresponsible financial decisions from one person that made that decision
So-
to the taxpayers. In
So,
general.
okay, I got it. So basically it was your prices are going to cost, it's going to cost more to do business because prices are going to go up. And there's going to be more competition.
Yeah, it will have an impact because they're printing more money to pay for this. They're putting more money into circulation. Reducing money in circulation is not the same thing as just simply canceling debt.
Okay. So the competitive part, you're a capitalist, you're a free market guy. You should have no issue with more competition.
I have no problem with more competition. I have a problem with helping people become competitive through handout means.
So what do you, so is it, do you consider
It's the same
somebody,
thing. I
so
also
let me
have
ask you
the
this.
same problem. So, I also similarly, I have a problem with all the money from PPP loans and all these business loans that were given out
Fair.
to these through those programs.
Okay.
I have a problem with both of those.
So do you think that it's wrong then for, let's say, if you decide to give somebody $10,000 to start their own business, they then got a handout from you where somebody else wouldn't have received that handout. So they have a competitive edge on somebody who did not get that 10K.
I mean, it truly depends. If you're like, are you talking about just straight up like grant money, or are you talking about or a sponsorship, or are you talking about like an SBA loan?
No, I'm talking
Because
about you
SBA
to a
loans,
friend.
those all differ.
No, I'm talking about you to a friend.
If I want to individually as an individual make that financial decision out of my own funds, that's different.
Mhm.
That's not the same thing as putting the burden onto the taxpayers of the rest of the country. I'm not putting that burden on other people. I would be putting that burden on myself.
Okay, so they're still getting a competitive edge, which was one of your arguments, which is the argument I'm mainly attacking right now. So they're still getting the competitive edge over somebody who wouldn't, right? Because they have a better network.
That's the entire point of socialism, is to make it, to level the playing field, you know. And but that's just not going to that doesn't.
Yeah, no, I'm not for that.
without-
I'm not for leveling the playing field. I'm very realistic. I'm for inequalities. Trust me. There exist. You ain't never going to change them. It's going to be the way it is. People are better at certain things than other people. But the point is that you have unfair competition based on your network, right? You can get ahead of
Yeah,
life
absolutely.
based on your network.
Yeah.
So
I've met a lot of amazing business people through my work, and like I feel like I have far more advantages than I did just 2 years ago.
right,
But I'm out there actually making it happen and learning how to do
right.
and educating myself on law and all the codes and being a valuable resource for these business people. And that's all on my own. I'm not doing it with any college or any certifications at all. I have nothing. All that I have is my own credibility and my portfolio.
Okay.
And it really hurts me as an individual knowing that I am putting in 3 times the effort compared to some, pothead that's going to college and drinking every other day, going to college parties and barely trying to actually pass and even dropping out. And that really, really is insulting to me, the people who have paid off college and the people who aren't in college, because it doesn't qualify any person. You can't get the cancellation if you for new loans after June 30th. So if your loan has started after June 30th, you don't qualify. So anybody who's going now or next year to college, they don't qualify. And what about the people who, like myself, didn't go to college? That's not okay. Like it's not okay to help persons that made bad decisions that they cannot,
So everybody, so the argument you're making is everybody who went to college made a bad decision.
No, that's not true. I think that to go to college, there has to be specific education necessities to justify college. I think that high schoolers should be pushed into making career pathways, not going into college and then figuring it out. And that's really difficult to push on young 18-year-olds and even younger. And I didn't figure out exactly what I wanted to do until 2 years after high school. And so it's a tough thing. But additionally, like even as an adult, prior or after post primary school and high school, people still don't know where to go to figure out their careers. The people who don't have the understanding of how to get careers, not education or college, careers. And that's the end goal is to be in a fulfilling, paying career. And there's career centers, and there's a bunch of job forums and conventions where you can go and network and meet and talk about to other people and people who are hiring, or connect with your chambers of commerces. There are great resources in almost every county across America that can provide you resources to find and figure out what careers you may would enjoy. And that's a much different approach than saying go to college. And when they're in high school, they're taught go to college, and so they leave high school, and then they're stuck in that mentality of, well, I don't know what degree to get in order to have a career. You don't need a degree to have a career. There are some careers that need and should have degrees, like being a doctor. I would not want a neurosurgeon working on my brain without them having a very, very extensive understanding, knowledge, or even like a lawyer. Passing a bar, that's important stuff there. But and it kind of makes me happy because that's starting to change in some high schools. That has been changing in some areas across America, where they start to encourage people to either take dual enrollment, where they take some of their gen eds while in high school, and that's paid for by some of the high school and some funding from state grant programs, and even go in the career centers. My old high school now has a career center that they're allowing people to go to take valuable courses that actually teach you valuable trades, and I think that's amazing. But not everywhere has great funding, and it really hurts, taxpayers, including myself, when I'm being told that this is fair because it wasn't fair, and it's justified because we paid businesses money too, and that the Biden administration and the people who are affiliated with those with his party, including Republicans. They were all a part of the process of passing those bills and the spending bills that added debt to the system. It's not okay, and so I'm left at this point where, okay, well, they made it so that I can't get the money because there was a cutoff of June 30th. So, where's my money for all the work that I'm doing? Where's the money for all the time and effort that I spend?
Why do you want a handout, though? So that's what I'm not understanding. So you do not want socialism, communism in your country. You don't believe in handouts, but then you see people getting handouts, even though you're against it, you then want the handout.
I am not complete. I am okay with helping people in charitable ways as long as they show that they are trying.
So so right there, thank you. So right there, charitable ways.
For college, that is past primary school. I don't think that we should be paying for people's college.
Yeah. So you just said that if people are putting in the work and need help, they should be receiving help, right?
I mean, the college doesn't qualify people who dropped out.
Well, hang on. No. What I'm talking about here is charitable donations, right? You think that that individuals should be able to do charitable donations to those who are working on bettering themselves, that are in really a hard place, maybe need help financially. You're for that, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because that's an individual financial decision.
Yeah. So
It can be a tax write-off.
yeah.
Conducted.
So then why would it be a bad thing for society to say, if you've been paying on your student debts for 7 years, you've got a career from it, and you still haven't paid them off, you're still swamped in debt, even though you're religiously paying what you should be paying, why should they not get some charitable donation?
I mean, we have this. There is a solution to that. It's called bankruptcy filing.
But you can't
But
do that with
you're-
student loans. That's illegal. You can't do it with student loans. They don't allow it for student loans. The Republicans and
don't?
Democrats made it outlawed.
Oh wow. Well, I didn't know about that, but I mean, I kind of also like. I also have kind of problems with the whole bankruptcy solution, and I think it should be more restricted to who can. Well, to the amounts necessary to qualify you.
And
I
you don't think that, well, really quick. So I agree that it should be harder to get a loan. So you don't think that making debt forgiveness a thing would make it harder to get a loan? Because then you're going to be like, well, I want somebody who's going to make an attempt to pay this loan off and not just take the loan and then get it paid off in 7 years. You're going to be more selective on who you lend the money to. You're going to make sure that they have good integrity. You're going to make sure that they're honest. Therefore, if they get the loan, they are going to make an attempt to pay it off. But after X amount of time, if they don't pay it off, you have an agreement. But it's not as if they're not going to try.
So here's my contention with that. If I were to know that system exists and that I wouldn't have to pay a certain in X amount, I could put that, I could plan that all out in the timeline like what's the word for list of loan payments. Whatever. I could plan out my payment schedule so that I don't need to pay the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do that, and I'm not the only person who would do that because that is financially beneficial for myself. And the only people that honestly mostly benefits are the people who are getting paid, would be the institution scenario.
So you make debt harder, though, right? You're making debt harder to get.
That should be harder.
Debt forgiveness would have a side effect of making it harder to get. And if debt's harder to get, you can't print as much money because we have a debt-based economy, man. In order to print money, there needs to be loans out there to bring the money into existence. That's why we're in so much debt. It's because we're giving out debt so we can print money. That's our economy. And so if you then make it harder to get debt, you are then making it harder to print money, which in turn would have a deflationary effect on the economy, meaning your dollar becomes more valuable.
But hold on. So first, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying. Are you saying that that canceling this debt would have a deflationary effect?
I would argue for deflation, yes, because it makes debt harder. It'll disincentivize giving debt if debt can be forgiven, which means they're going to be more selective on who's going to give the debt.
I don't think so. I don't think that they're not making it more restrictive by simply having there be forgiveness. That's a totally separate discussion. Forgiveness is not the same as granting the loan.
Yeah, so if you are making the debt, so if lenders have the potential of their debts, so lenders give out money with interest, right? So They're saying interest, I make money from this debt.
So you're saying because they won't make as much money because of the forgiveness potential,
they will be more restrictive on who they're going to loan to because there's a potential that somebody will abuse the system by saying, I'm going to get debt, not pay it back, and it'll be forgiven in 7 years or 10 years, whatever they decide.
I'm trying to think, how that would pan out.
But you do know that money is created through debt, right? The U.S. government has fiat currency, which is debt based.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I kind of, but that's we create spending bills which create debt. Yeah.
yeah, and that's where we get the money from. So, you know, the banks give out loans, and then that gives the opportunity to print money for those loans. So if you make it harder to get debt, you make it harder to get loans, you make it harder to print money. If you make it harder to print money, it's contracting the money supply, which is the opposite of inflation.
Actually, I don't know if I agree with this. Because what you're suggesting is that the debt of the federal government and individuals are the same thing, and it's not. The debt of a private institution and the credit and the individual, that is not the U.S. government's debt. That is those into two corporations.
Well, hang on. You do know that the debt that they're forgiving, I believe it's $20,000 is a Pell Grant, which is federal loan. So it's the federal government's money.
Right.
They're being able to forgive $20,000.
Money.
I'm sorry?
So basically, the U.S. government is the creditor in that situation, and they're forgiving those loans. So I can see where they have the statute capabilities to do that, but I still don't think that's okay.
Yeah, I mean that's cool. So I mean that's where I stand. I'm gonna have to get out of here. My wife needs help. So you know, it's been a pleasure talking with you, man.
Yeah, that was interesting to go through that thought process.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming on. It's been good speaking with you. I hope you have much success in your business. Genuinely speaking, man, I really do.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, man. Thanks. All right, guys. Subscribe to everything MOT Media, MOT News, MOT Today 1, all that good stuff. And yeah, I will probably be back tomorrow. Much love. Peace.